pisses me off. Like, okay, I spent several years being patriotic. Fuck the haters, and that's how it is, YouTube. Nah, stupid fucking lighter. Fuck you, stupid fucking lighter. Hey lighter, fuck you. Oh, you don't like being beat up. You don't like it. You don't like it. You don't fucking like it. Then maybe you shouldn't fucking go against the grain, stupid fuck. I'll beat you up, you piece of shit. God damn it! I broke my fucking cigarette. Fuck. Fucking social media doesn't give a shit. Fuck you. Fuck you fucking touching me, you piece of fucking shit, you. And fuck this. And of course my drink has to spill. I lose my fucking temper over these stupid fucking assholes. And no one's gonna feel sorry for me, because it's just like you did it to yourself, dude. You had a fucking drink combo, and you had to lose your fucking autistic temper. Spill it for yourself. Fucking bullshit. Get the fuck out of my way, stupid fucking hat. Stupid fucking piece of shit fucking hat. Fuck you, oh it's here. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You fucking piece of goddamn shit. Fuck you, you stupid fucking butthole. Stay on the fucking desk, stay on the fucking desk, you piece of shit. Fuck you, I told you. How many times did I fucking tell you to stay on the fucking desk? Fucking stay on the desk, I told you 1,000 times. Fuck you, fuck you, you stupid fuck. You wanna fall off the desk to beat you, and no one asked you to beat you, you piece of shit. Fuck you. I don't care if I got a nasty fucking temper. Fuck you. Stay the fuck in my hand, you piece of shit. I'll smoke you until you're dead. Fuck you. Don't care if anyone cited me, I'm fucking miserable. I'm just making the best of every day. That's all you can do, YouTube. That's all I can do. Temper, fuck you. Stay the fuck in my hand, you piece of shit. I'll smoke you until you're dead. Fuck you. Don't care if anyone cited me, I'm fucking miserable. I'm just making the best of every day. That's all you can do, YouTube. That's all I can do.
In the beginning, there was nothing. And then there was the Drunken Peasants Podcast.
I gotta get a witness.
No! Say, man, you got a joint? No, not on me, man.
I don't have facts to back this up.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
That's true. Sometimes I cry.
Oh!
Lick my butthole, he laughed.
From the strangest corners of the internet, here to bring you opinions of the world from an altered perspective. Here are your hosts, the Drunken Peasants.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another afternoon Drunken Peasants episode. Doing it live in the afternoon. I kind of like doing these afternoon streams from time to time. I can jump on and look at the happenings, the haps that are happening right now. And there's a lot of haps happening right now. Believe you me. Please like the stream. If all of you give the stream a like, it'll help us out a lot. And if you'd be so kind as to throw us a couple dollars, there's the dono link at the top of the chat right there. You see it? I point at it. But when I'm pointing at it, it's not where it is, because it's actually over there if I'm doing it right. You know, the simple things. Please like the stream. Thank you for liking it already. So last night when I was streaming, someone asked what was the likelihood of Biden not running. And I said 10%, and I think some things occurred today that would make me more confidently say maybe there's like a 33% chance, like a 1/3 chance that it won't be Biden. right now. There's subtle hints floating around out there that only materialized in the last like 15 hours or so that lead me to believe that maybe it could be more likely than most of us would think, but I would still think overall less likely overall. But we'll take a look at some of the stuff here. I'll play the news intro and then we'll take a look at it.
He called me sir and got me so fuming angry.
People are discriminating against wolves. Wow.
They're laughing at us, at our stupidity.
And you better well learn to love it.
I see A-Train in the chat say Biden will be the nominee, sadly. I doubt they have the balls to switch it. Now, you know, I agree, and I still agree that most likely he will be. But I will say, if they start losing big donors over this, like if they continue to lose big donors over this, they'll have to switch. They're not going to fund it. They're not going to fund the election out of their own pockets, and they need these whales to keep donating, much like Drunken Peasants. But yeah, we're going to take a look at this because George Clooney, you know, George Clooney, he's a big star. He probably used to be bigger than he is now, but he's still a well-known name. And apparently he has helped Democrats over the years raise tons of money. His name recognition and his overall public persona being very positive has brought in a lot of donations. And just a month ago, him and Julia Roberts raised a whole bunch of money for Biden. And George Clooney's coming out being like, you know, the Biden I saw last month is the one that you saw. Like, that was not a fluke. That's how he actually is. And we'll get into this here. Here's CNN talking about it. And by the way, I can tell CNN talks about Biden getting replaced a lot. So you can tell that they're not afraid to talk about it, and maybe even the higher ups there are kind of hoping for Biden to be replaced. I would say it's made politics more interesting for me than it has been in quite a while. Biden doing the bad debate performance, and then some of the people in the Democrat establishment being like, it's time to replace him. Because it's not just the same old predictable stuff that I've been seeing for years now. So it does make it more interesting and more chaotic. But chaos is interesting, right? So here's the CNN story about George Clooney.
This just into CNN, big Democratic donor George Clooney, of course, the actor, has just called for President Biden to step aside. CNN's Arlette Saenz joins us now from the White House. Arlette, obviously, this is not going to be welcome news over there. What can you tell us?
No, it won't be, Jim. And this is a significant new New York Times op-ed from actor George Clooney. Now, to remind viewers, George Clooney was one of those celebrities that headlined a major Los Angeles fundraiser with President Biden back in June. And today, he is saying that he believes it is time for President Biden to step aside from this 2024 campaign. Now, George Clooney wrote extensively about President Biden, saying, "We are not going to win in November with this president." He recounted being with Biden at that fundraiser, saying, "It's devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe big effing deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at that debate."
So and this is a written statement from George Clooney. So George Clooney is walking in lockstep with the Democrats that don't want Biden to run. And that says a lot. And from what George Clooney is going to say here, which I believe him, because he, as a big time donor and fundraiser for Democrats, he does get to see what the common man would not get to see and talk to people. And I think he's being told stuff that a lot of these people aren't willing to say publicly yet.
Goes on to say our party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw. We're also terrified by the prospect of a second Trump term, that we've opted to ignore every warning sign. This is
so George Clooney is saying Biden has almost no chance of beating Trump, and if beating Trump's important to you, then we should really reconsider running Biden again.
Significant, as of course George Clooney holds a very large platform. He is well known, but he has also been a longtime Democratic supporter, fundraising not just for Joe Biden, but also for former President Barack Obama. Now it comes, as you have heard, these deep reservations expressed from various wings of the Democratic Party, from some lawmakers up on Capitol Hill, some donors also indicating that they are concerned about what it would mean to have President Biden at the top of the Democratic ticket in November after that debate. And now you are hearing George Clooney, a key Democratic supporter, key actor, key activist, adding to that chorus of calls for President Biden to step aside. Now, President Biden and his team are simply charging ahead with this campaign at this moment. President Biden right now is speaking at an AFL-CIO meeting as he's trying to shore up support among union leaders who the campaign believes would be key heading into a November election. But certainly this is another pressure point for President Biden, as they are having a major Democratic name call for him to step aside at this moment.
Yeah, Arlette, they're not going to be happy about that. And speaking of the president being at the AFL-CIO, the big union that's headquartered here in Washington, he was just speaking there moments ago. Let's listen to a bit of that and hear what he had to say.
So it's interesting. So he's meeting up with labor unions, which labor unions usually side with Democrats for the most part. So I don't really know if he needs to court union leaders. I think they're pretty much already going to vote in his favor. He should be he should be making the appeal to his own party not to replace him and prove to them that he doesn't need to be replaced.
Hey folks. Thank you. Please sit down. Hey, look, number one, you know, the way I look at it, and I was thinking about this last night, knowing I'm going to be here and going from here to the NATO summit. You know, we have two strong organizations in America that I look to.
And then, of course, we know about George Clooney's beautiful wife, Eugenia Clooney. Have you guys ever seen her?
For our security. One, literally, and I mean this sincerely, is NATO. NATO, a joint assembly of democracies that made sure we're keeping the peace.
Oh, she's not his wife?
And no one's going to screw around with it. It's the strongest it's ever been. And I think of you as my domestic NATO. Not a joke. You're the ones beyond me. And, you know, you know Matt with this better than I do. Beyond me. It's all about whether or not we're going to grow the economy. Whether we're going to give work.
Right now, it's all about whether or not you're going to run. That's all anyone's talking about. It's honestly a distraction from the real issues. Joe Biden is the embodiment of a distraction. And from his interview with George Stephanopoulos, it's apparent to me that it's more about Joe Biden's ego at this point. And I've been able to tell over the years that Joe Biden does have kind of a big ego, and he doesn't like being challenged. But as he's gotten older, he's shown more symptoms of strange agitation.
People shot. And I told you, and you know, because a lot of you were there with me all the way back when I was a kid, and I'm only 42, but when I was a kid back running for the Senate when I was 29 years old, Labor elected me. And we were then a right-to-work state. And we changed it all. And here's what we're doing. You've heard me say it 1,000 times, I'm going to say it again. The middle class built this country. You built the middle class. No. And by the
Is this during the day? What time of the day? Usually it'll say what time this is occurring. I just want to know, because he's doing okay. And it does appear that he might be speaking off the cuff, because this is not a speech. He's just at a rally. I want to know if this is in the afternoon, morning, or if this is after sundown. I just want to know, because that debate was definitely after sundown.
way, I don't want to hurt your reputations, but even Wall Street's acknowledging your power. No, I'm serious. Look at every projection about what we want to do with the economy on the issues that we're talking about and what the other guy wants to do. They're supporting us. It's your agenda we're working.
He is like very robotic though. Does anyone else notice that? He's very like robotic. You know? Play some breakdancing music behind him.
And by the way, I've said from the beginning that when labor does well, everybody does better. Not a joke. That's not a talking point. That is a reality. You know that, Lee. That is a reality. It is an absolute reality. When we were I said I was going to be the most pro-union president in American history. Well, guess what? I am, and I'm staying there.
Automaton.
All right, and that's President Biden right there at the AFL-CIO headquarters here in Washington as he tries to shore up support in certain corners of the Democratic.
Oh, he didn't even travel for this one. This is in Washington. So he just, took a car ride to wherever this is.
Party, of course, the breaking news we just heard a few moments ago.
We schedule it at 7:30.
Actor and Democratic Party supporter George Clooney calling for President Biden to step out of the race. I want to bring in our CNN senior data reporter, Harry Enton. I mean, Harry, one of the reasons why there is all...
He did the Cub Scout salute.
All this consternation. We saw the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi opening the door to President Biden making the decision to get out of this race, even though he has said he wants to stay in. We're seeing a lot of movement in these battleground polls, and I'm wondering if you could walk us through that, show us why there's some heartburn, a lot of heartburn in the Democratic Party right now.
Jim, we've been talking a lot about the national polls, but of course the race is won or lost in the Electoral College, and I just really want to give an indication here that Donald Trump is favored at this particular point.
Look at this. This is devastating right here. We should be ashamed of this right here. And then there's 3 key states. Biden has to win all 3 of them. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. He has to win them all. And it's looking like Trump they're close, but it's trending Trump in these states. He cannot afford to lose any one of those 3. It's really bad. It's a really bad position to be in. And I've had people get shitty with me in my comments since I started talking about this, making it try to sound like I support Trump or something. It's like, I'll still vote for Biden. I just think he's not going to last very long, and I don't think he'll win. I'll still vote for him because Trump is, in my opinion, the worst president I've ever experienced. But I don't think Biden's going to last. He might as well drop out because Kamala will become president if Biden has to retire or something happens to him. But so why not just give it to Kamala now and just have her run? She actually, polling wise, stands a better chance. Or let's have an open convention and let's pick a new one. That'll be entertaining. I'd actually like to see that.
That's the bottom line. If the election were held today, according to the Cook Political Report, 268 electoral votes are either leaning...
Well, me being realistic about Biden and saying he's probably going to lose it's not an endorsement of the other side. It's a condemnation of my side,
Or solid in his direction versus just 226 for Joe Biden. The only real toss-ups are up here in the Midwest, right? Wisconsin, Michigan, and down in the Great Lakes in Pennsylvania. And I will tell you, Jim, that I've been looking and talking with folks on the internal polls in these individual states up here in that Midwest region. These polls do not look good for Joe Biden at this particular point. Donald Trump is leading in these internal polls.
And then Biden, during his last interview, pulled at Trump and said, do you think the polls are right these days? It's like you'd be saying they were right if you were winning. We live in a world where if you're not winning in the polls now, you just attack how genuine the polls are, the accuracy of them.
And then, of course, Arizona, down here in Nevada, Georgia, all states that Joe Biden won last time around, all of them leaning towards Donald Trump at this
And
hour.
if he doesn't win those blue wall states, it's over. That's it.
If he wins If he doesn't win
he has to
any
run
one of these, he has to run the table.
Yeah.
He has to win all of these states. And I know from the internal data that I've been talking to folks, he's not ahead in a single one of them right now.
Let's discuss with CNN political commentator and former Obama White House senior advisor Ashley Allison and former Trump administration official Matt Mowers. Ashley, let me go to you first on this George Clooney news. We saw the president visiting the AFL-CIO a few moments ago. Obviously, he's trying to shore up support with certain parts of the Democratic Party base. But how big of a blow is that to have George Clooney say, you know what, Mr. President, you need to step aside?
Look, it's not great to have someone who just held a very large fundraiser for you to come out and withdraw their support.
Yeah, and this is something Biden's been touting lately, was all the money he was raising. And now the people that helped him raise the money are saying, yeah, you know, we come to think of it, we had a fundraiser with him and he did seem off like he did in the debate.
I think the thing that is really hard about the comments in the letter is not that he is just saying this based off of the debate performance, but he compared the debate performance to his actual direct interaction with the president. And I think that the campaign, everyone who saw the debate a couple of weeks ago have been saying to the president, we need you to prove to us that you are able to do it. And people are still waiting for that proof point. Now, I think they are doing a good job getting him out there.
It's weird because a lot of these people see Biden on a fairly regular basis, right? Like the people who work in Washington that are senators and Congress people do they never see Biden talk? Why do they need to watch a debate to see this? I guess his aides and the aides, that came out different than how I meant. But yeah, the people who work for him and his cabinet, I guess maybe they get to talk to him directly more.
Having conversations with people, but it's not a great sign, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. When you hear the polls that Harry Enton is saying that he is down, people know the threat that Donald Trump is to our democracy, and so when the polls are where they are, we need a couple things to help it to get easier, and a letter like that doesn't make it any easier.
And Matt Mowers, I mean, one of the things that we've noticed about Donald Trump lately is we haven't seen a whole lot of him. He was out at a...
Yeah, so, this is from the fundraiser last month. So George Clooney and Julia Roberts and Obama all came out.
Rally last night, but he's been sort of laying low. And, I mean, this is sort of politics 101. You're just going to let if your opponent is struggling, you're going to let that continue to happen. This is what the Trump campaign wants right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, of course, we're right. You know, we've got Ashley Allison and I agreeing on something, which is that this is bad for Joe Biden. That is not going to happen every single day. And, I've said this a few times now, and I mean this purely figuratively, but there's the old adage in politics and really anything else in life, when your opponent's committing suicide, don't commit homicide. Donald Trump doesn't need to do anything right now. You've got the Democratic Party.
That's why we don't know who Donald Trump's running mate is yet. Because Donald Trump is letting all the eyes be on Biden right now. It's kind of smart. I don't know if he came up with it or if he's actually listening to his handlers on this one.
Eating itself. It's been happening now for months. For a while, it was happening on policies, right? It was happening on what was going on in Israel and those who took a different side and were supporting, essentially supporting Hamas. You had, issues around that going on. You had the base dispirited on other issues. Now it's all about whether they believe Joe Biden is capable of even serving. I mean, I just don't know. And here's the biggest problem, I think, for Joe Biden. If I was the Biden campaign, this would be my concern every single day. This doesn't necessarily go away, right? Everyone's going to be watching every single interview from now through November. They're going to be watching every single speech from now through November. And they're going to look for any single misstep or miscue to grab onto. Now, look, based on what we're seeing now, Joe Biden's performance in the debate, George Clooney saying in private that privately Joe Biden's that same person in private. Other Democratic congressional leaders who, after years of saying Joe Biden's fine, trust us, are now coming around saying he can't serve. We really don't believe, and most Democratic members of Congress probably don't believe, that he can have an error-free campaign from now through November, and that's going to be the issue for Joe Biden.
All right, and here's a little more on the Clooney thing.
Another House Democrat is calling on Joe Biden to drop out of the race. Moderate New York Congressman Pat Ryan is now the 8th elected Democrat to do so publicly. Of course, President Biden has no...
And Clooney said that every person he's talked to that's like an elected official has said that they want Biden to drop out, even if that's not what they're saying publicly.
Shortage of critics right now. Some of his toughest are coming from those who worked inside the Obama-Biden administration, like the co-hosts of the podcast Pod Save America. They served as speechwriters to the former President Obama.
This is a campaign that is being, and a White House that is being let down by their principal over and over and over again. It was a terrible interview. He did a terrible job articulating why he's in the race, what happened at the debate, and why he's the person to beat Trump. He's doing a terrible job.
Joining me now is one of the co-hosts of that podcast, Jon Favreau.
Why not show a clip from the host that you're having on your show? That doesn't make any sense, but okay.
Obama's former chief speechwriter and the co-author of the new book, Democracy or Else. John's one-time former boss is also here, former Obama senior advisor David Axelrod, now, of course, a senior CNN contributor. Thank you both for being here. Jon Favreau, I'm going to start with you because, first of all, Axe, I did listen to Hacks on Tap, so I'll get to that in a second. But I listened to the entire episode. I think you dropped it yesterday. I mean, it gave me so much anxiety. I could feel the frustration coming through the car speakers as I was listening to it, and then my earbuds. And so the question is that I have for you is, I'm putting myself in the position of the Biden campaign right now, of the White House. And that is, you guys are so angry and you guys are so upset. Are you hurting more than helping by saying so much about what you're saying publicly?
No, I think what's hurting Joe Biden right now is not only the debate performance, but the response to the debate performance, in that he has been unable to articulate a coherent and compelling argument against Donald Trump, who I believe represents an existential threat to our democracy. And the debate did not, the voters had concerns about Joe Biden's age and fitness for the job long before the debate. An overwhelming majority of voters did, and the debate amplified those concerns in a way that was very visceral for voters to see. And
I remember for the last few years, people have been saying, oh, the whole dementia thing, that's just Republican talking points. Biden's fine. He's okay. He just stutters a little bit.
So it's like, it really doesn't matter what I think, but I hope that the Biden campaign and that President Biden will just like listen to the voters, right? And the overwhelming majority of whom do not like Donald Trump, do not think Donald Trump is honest, but have had concerns for a couple years now that Joe Biden is not fit for another 4 years because of his age. And a majority of voters didn't have that concern in 2020.
I want you both to listen to what the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said on MSNBC this morning.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run.
To decide.
We're all encouraging him to make that decision. I want him to do whatever he decides to do, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, she doesn't sound like she is sure that he's going to run. She's like, yeah, he can do whatever he wants to do. She's not acknowledging the fact that he said he was going to keep running. She makes it seem like it's still on the table, which is an interesting way of putting it.
David, I'll start with you. The significance of that?
I think very significant. First of all, as you know, I think you said earlier in your show here, Nancy Pelosi is a very deliberate person. She says what she wants to say. She never says what she doesn't want to say. She said that for a reason. The president tried to close down this discussion at the beginning of the week with his letter to the House. And what she's saying delicately and respectfully is, no, really the discussion isn't over. And we still need to have this discussion because she's hearing from members all over the country. They all poll. They all talk to their constituents, and they're worried not just about the existential threat of Donald Trump becoming president again, but also the effect that it's going to have on all of their races and the prospect of recapturing the House. So I think the leaders are trying to be respectful and supportive of the president and leave the decision to him. But I think they're going to want to make sure that he makes that decision based on real information. And the real information is not encouraging.
And so the question is, how much of that real information is he getting? For example, now the Stephanopoulos interview was several days ago at this point, but he said the only person at that point that he knew that who really wanted him to get out in the Senate among his former colleagues was Mark Warner. John, you and David, I think, has gone a little bit further in saying that effectively that President Biden should step aside. Correct me if I'm mischaracterizing your position, David. But John, do you think it would help at this point for people like you and elected officials who have microphones and megaphones to be more specific publicly, or is it better to continue to press this case privately with the president?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure that pressing the case privately to the president is going to be the ultimate thing that if he decides to step down, that's what's going to do it. But I do think the reason that I keep talking about it, the reason that a lot of people keep talking about it, is because President Biden and his advisors are having these conversations with elected officials. The president does respect Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of these people around him that he's served with for years, and his advisors as well. And I do think that if they all gave him an honest accounting of what the numbers are right now and what voters' concerns are, then I still believe that Joe Biden would make what I think would be a very courageous, honorable decision to say, I want to, finish out my job as president here in the next couple months, but I want to pass the torch to the next generation.
And David, answer my question, but also I want you to sort of play with another notion, a broader notion beyond President Biden, which is Richie Torres told me this morning Democrats are headed for a suicide mission politically. You heard Michael Bennett on with Caitlin last night saying that it's not just the presidency at stake. House and Senate Democrats are going to get wiped out. You worked in the White House. You were both in the White House when there was, I don't know about a wipeout, but it was, I'll quote your former boss. He got shellacked. Democrats got shellacked.
The Democrats got shellacked.
Very different circumstances, but is that where you see November headed?
Look, if the polling numbers that we see today,
David Axelrod's camera is frozen,
or anything like the numbers on.
She's like, oh shit, we better fix that.
In November, I think that gravity will take hold. You can't run. Right now, this polling is showing, for example, Senator Baldwin in Wisconsin running 12 points ahead of Biden. I think the same is true of Senator Rosen in Nevada. Bob Casey in Pennsylvania running well ahead of him. But the history, there are very few cases of senators in the last several cycles and presidential cycles who win when their presidential candidate is losing. And so I think there's real fear, not just for the senators, but for representatives in these swing district, frontline districts. And a lot of Democrats think the House may be the last line of defense if Trump wins the election. So there's a lot of concern about this.
If President Biden does withdraw from the race, replacing him at the top of the ticket could be chaotic. But here's what a top Biden fundraiser and longtime supporter, George Clooney, said about that in his op-ed this morning. Would it be messy? Yes, democracy is messy, but would it enliven our party and wake up voters who, long before the June debate, had already...
There might be people who weren't going to vote at all that might be willing to vote this time. It might go the other way, too, but the question is, which one? Would you lose more than you gain by running someone else? I think most people that were voting for Biden were just voting for not Trump, and they didn't really care who had it. I fall into that.
He checked out. It sure would. The short ramp to Election Day would be a benefit for us, not a danger. John Favreau and David Axelrod are back with me. Ax, what do you think about that argument?
Look, I think there's merit to it. You know, sometimes this is all a matter of risk assessment. There's risk associated with everything. The question is whether the risk of the status quo eclipses the risk of trying something else. And I think we've reached the point where many have come to that conclusion. But the thing about the piece, Dana, that I thought was particularly impactful was Clooney, who just hosted a major fundraiser for the president a few weeks ago in California, said...
Let's watch a little more. Here's James Carville talking about this whole thing. James Carville's an old guy, old Democratic strategist. Kind of looks like an alien a little bit.
2 days from now, President Biden will face reporters in a free-form press conference. And as our next guest, James Carville, wrote in the New York Times, he doesn't think the dam, which held today, can hold forever. Quoting now, "Mark my words," Carville said, "Joe Biden is going to be out of the 2024 presidential race, whether he's ready to admit it or not."
That says a lot when these people who have defended Biden so much are saying this.
James Carville joins us along with CNN political commentator Jamal Simmons.
Look at him on the left. On the left, that's him. He's aged a little bit. When he was younger, he looked almost like a gray alien.
Simmons, who served as deputy assistant to President Biden and communications director to Vice President Harris. James, do you stand still by what you said, or do you think President Biden has survived this crisis?
Well, I mean, you know, Cook moved 6 states away from Democrats. I watch some of these press conferences. It reminds me of a book they made me read in college called Ship of Fools. A bunch of desperate people sailing into disaster.
Ha! Somebody took a picture of James Carville and compared it to Smeagol. Do you see that? That's pretty funny. All right.
And, you know, I just think that cowards have never beat criminals in a war yet. And the way that you beat criminals is not to be cowards, is to take it directly home. There's nothing that I see that remotely changes my mind or changes what I think about where we are.
But do you believe what you said, though, is different than what you said in that you said he's going to drop out. What you're saying is you seem now resigned to or upset about that basically they have capitulated.
No, I don't. And I think like Senator Patty Murray, who's been in the Senate for over 30 years, and the fact that
Patty Murray is one of my senators.
She came out and said this speaks volumes as opposed to what people say in front of a camera. So I still think I'll stand by my thing that he won't run. But if he does, we're just making a idiotic choice for the future of our country. And I can't help but believe that. And the proof's in the pudding. They're moving states away from us. We're losing. We're not winning. And when we lose, America
Time
loses.
to change.
It's that simple.
Time to make time to call an audible.
Jamal, I mean, James talks about the Cook political report moving 6 states toward Trump after the debate. Do you take that as a terrible sign?
It's not great, Anderson. It's really not great. Listen, the Democrats right now are like in a field of kerosene with a bunch of dandelions made of matches, right? In every direction we turn, a fire could break out, whether we keep President Biden or we don't keep President Biden and we go with a new candidate. So I think what we're seeing now is a bunch of Democrats who are deciding they're going to just stay with the horse that's already on the track, and they're going to try to ride that horse and see how far it goes. I'm also hearing from some Democrats that they're a little nervous that we're trading a problem today for what could be a bigger problem tomorrow and a harder problem to solve tomorrow. So just because people are out in public doesn't mean that everybody's already on board. I think that people are waiting to see if there are any more shoes that are going to drop in this before they get completely on board with the candidacy.
Well, James, Jamal obviously raises a very good point, which is one you have talked about. I mean, if find he can talk on a teleprompter, his critics will say, but what happens a month from now or 2 months from now if there's a huge...
Wow, there's one very, very tiny man. Who is the very tiny man on stage there that's like just so tiny compared to everybody else? Who is that? Anyone know? This is what like the NATO summit or whatever? I wonder who the little guy is. He's very little. Like I would assume all the other guys are probably like average to slightly above average height. And that guy looks like he's 5 feet tall.
There's another debate-like performance.
Well, first of all, Jamal's a very astute and sharp commentator. And so you get through one teleprompter performance. What are you going to do on September 10th when there's another debate scheduled? What are you going to do? He couldn't meet with the German chancellor because he had to go to bed when he was at the NATO conference. Anderson, I just think, you're right.
By the way, this guy is slightly younger than Biden, like 1 to 2 years younger. And he looks older than him because he hasn't had all the cosmetic surgery that Biden has had. Biden has had cosmetic surgery.
Is there a risk in trying to change directions? Of course, there's risk with everything. But with risk comes hope. And right now, we have always been a party of hope. Hope and place called hope and deal a leader in hope. And I have a dream and keep hope alive. And I don't see any hope in the Democratic Party right now. I see a lot of fear and a lot of, if we try something different, we end up in a ditch. Well, we're already in a ditch. We ought to try to get out of it as opposed to trying to drive in it. But I agree with everything that everybody says. I think we got to have a change. I just genuinely do.
Yeah, and
Jamal, we just heard some of the kind of. Go ahead, Jamal.
Well, no, I think James makes some interesting points. I do think the president has gotten better over the last week.
Yeah, because if you look at this, Biden used to have like a turkey neck, and he used to have more eye bags and a more wrinkly forehead. Look at how he used to look compared to how he looks now. Biden had some cosmetic surgery. No doubt about it.
Week, that event he did in North Carolina was a good event. Obviously, he did the conversation with George Stephanopoulos. I still want to make sure the president has actually watched the debate. I feel like that's kind of entry stakes to having the conversation. The president needs to watch the debate so he can actually know.
Well, again, and he told George Stephanopoulos he wasn't sure if he had watched it or not.
That was not the best moment. But the president is getting back to talking about Project 2025.
Pride takes priority over strategy so often in politics.
It's true.
Also, wish I could buy you a beer, so here's my best shot at that.
Thank you so much. I could get a beer. I don't have any beer right now, but I could get beer later. Thank you. You've been the only person that sent in a dono so far during this stream, and I've been going for about 45 minutes. So thank you. If any of you want to follow suit, I was hoping we could probably get the goal to at 65% before the end of this stream. If you want to help out, I'd really appreciate it. I've been doing these extra streams to kind of help keep the goal moving. But I do have a show tomorrow, like an actual episode tomorrow at the usual time. So going into that episode already at 65% would be huge.
And what's happening with the Republicans. Here's what we know. Much like what happened in France this week, there is an anti-MAGA majority that exists in the country. It existed in 2018, 2020, 2022, and now I think in 2024. The president has to mount a consistent campaign where he's showing people what he can do, and then I think that majority, we're betting, is going to show up again in 2024. If we can do that, then I think we can save the country. And I think the president has been on a path to showing people he can do it, but it's going to be a consistent effort. It's not a question, I think, that is going to get answered. This is one of these questions that's going to be with us all the way into November, or as long as the president is the nominee.
Yeah, and James, that idea of, that there's this anti-MAGA, enough anti-Trump people out there who will
get a better beer. That's not difficult to do. Because Shabisky only goes to like the convenience store near his house, and they don't have a lot of good beer. He thinks like Heineken and Blue Moon are like really fancy beers. That's why when he came here, I got some good beer for him to try, like good stuff.
Just vote for the Biden-Harris ticket because they are anti-Trump, despite any concerns that they have Do you believe that that is large enough? Because, I mean, there was, prior to the debate, I seem to recall a lot of discussion about the need for all these independent voters and all these people who may be on the fence or maybe thinking about third-party candidates. If there is not true heartfelt enthusiasm for a candidate and it's just, I'm fearful of this other candidate, does that lead to a lot of people staying on the couch or just kind of thinking, well, why am I going to get a babysitter this day to go vote?
Again, congratulations all. He's a sharp commentator. There is an anti-MAGA majority in this country. But I saw Senate polls today. I saw polls in Wisconsin where Chairman Baldwin's up 5 and Trump is down 6. I see the same thing in Nevada. I see the same thing in Arizona, Montana, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wow, we're at 63 now. Damn.
I think people want to vote Democratic. They want to vote a change. They're asking for a simple thing. Let's give them change. If we give them change.
Listen to the old man, Joe. What?
And we give them something fresh, we'll get 54%. We'll keep a Senate majority. We'll win the House.
Yeah, because that's another thing. There's the House and the Senate. Do we want Trump to walk into office with the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court? Because I know, like, technically the Supreme Court's nonpartisan, but this Supreme Court we have now is very partisan. So just imagine that we have this, like, MAGA conservative majority in the entire federal government. That's crazy.
Back. But we're trying to talk people out of doing something that they want. We're trying to talk people that you really don't want change, and they really do. And yeah, and if we might win anyway, because maybe, you know, if you look at France or you look at Britain, but that's a big risk we take, and people are asking for something simple, something different. Give it to them. They're not asking for anything hard. That's what I think.
Jamal,
yes, there are a majority of people who don't want to vote MAGA. True.
Jamal, we just heard some of the lukewarm support for Biden from congressional Democrats. I also want to play something that Democratic Congressman Emanuel Cleaver said today.
Well, I've come to the final conclusion that President Biden is not ready to be rolled into an old folks' home, if that's not an insult.
I mean, is that the standard? Is that like the bar? That it's either you're fit to be president or you're an invalid, basically?
I mean, again, that's not, you know, if that's, I'm not sure. While Democrats, you know, he's publicly supporting Biden, that's not a message that's exactly, again, going to drive people to.
Well, yeah, he's not ready to go into the old folks' home yet.
Polls. It's not. You know, here's where James is right too. You know, I kind of learned some of this stuff working for James and Paul Begala back in the day when I was on the Clinton campaign. Hope is important. I mean, Barack Obama had the famous line, there's never been anything false about hope. So one of the things I want to hear the president and the vice president talk more about is what we're going to do to help make the country better for everybody on January 21st. It's not just about being against Trump. I think people have the case against Trump. I want them to give people a really crisp 3-point, you know, one big message, 3 points. Here's what we're going to do to make your life better. I think right now we've got 10 or 12 points about what they want to do. That's too many. People aren't going to be able to digest that. And especially now when things have gotten so tense because of what happened with President Biden, I think we've got to get a very crisp, clear message about how the Democrats are going to improve the world if we beat Trump.
James, I just want to ask you one last question, which is, I'm wondering, what do you say to Democrats who I'm hearing from, and I'm sure you are, I don't know if you check your, you know, messages, but I'm sure you are hearing from, who say, how dare you are even talking about this, because you should be talking about how bad Trump is.
Yes, that's what I get. I get it. It's like, yeah, we know how bad Trump is and we don't want him to be president. So we don't think Biden can beat him. We don't think Biden's up to the task.
And you should not be doing something that weakens Biden. Obviously, in my case, I believe it's my job as a journalist to talk about what is true and what's not true and what we are all seeing, and not be taking, it's not my job to be supporting a particular candidate. What do you say, though, to Democrats about what you are saying? I'm sure you hear this.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I thought about.
Things are tense because of what happened with Biden. Only Biden. And nothing else.
Nothing else.
For a long time. I'm very comfortable with where I am. I'm very comfortable with what I'm saying. And I understand that many people who are friends of mine are not very pleased with me and think I should just fall in line. And I've tried everything I could to do that, and I just cannot get there. And I'm not very likely to get there. But trust me, Anderson. Trust me, Jamal, I've thought about this and agonized over it, and prayed over it, but I think that the country wants a change, and I think the Democratic Party from 1932 to 2022 is the greatest political party in Western democracy. And I've always been very proud to be a member of it, but when people demand in change, as they have numerous times in our history, we've given them what they've demanded. We've given them change. Well, let's give it to them again. Let's do it. That's where I am.
James Carville.
I have not taken the decision lightly. Thank you.
James Carville, Jamal Simmons, thank you.
All right, here is some more on this.
Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. And Congressman, for the record, we usually have you here to talk pure policy and foreign policy and armed services, not politics, but this is a fraught moment in our democracy. Where are you on this issue? What's your message to President Biden and to your fellow Democrats?
Well, look, I think he should step aside. I think it's become clear that he's not the best person to carry the Democratic message. And here's the thing.
These are elected. Representative Adam Smith, he said out of Washington State, I feel dumb. I don't even know who my representative is. I'll have to look that up.
Incredibly strong message and
news coverage. You should go on Locale Live. You would make a great guest with your knowledge of locales.
I mean, if I was invited, I would consider being on. I know Tommy. I don't know the other two guys really well. I don't know Wings at all, and I met Boogie years ago when I was hanging out with Billy. But I know Tommy the best, I guess. But I don't ask to be on other people's shows. They would have to ask me. Somebody would have to ask.
To run on. And in all respect to the president, he's done a great job. Okay, when you look at where the economy was when he came in, how our economy dealt with COVID so much better than any other economy in the world, the progress that we're making, the unemployment rate, stock market. Look, there's a lot of work left to do. Housing's too expensive. Income inequality is still too great. But we've made progress on that too.
Let me see who the rep is from my district. Who is my congressman? Mine is... Oh, this guy is my congressperson. He is. I was like, huh, they just said he was a congressman in Washington State, which there's a bunch of them. And I just looked it up, and I am in this guy's district. That's interesting. That's pretty interesting. And then we have two women as our senators, Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell.
That the lowest black unemployment, black poverty rate came under this president. I saw a report today in the New York Times that some of those, areas that have seen the manufacturing jobs flee are actually starting to get better. Okay, and then on the other side, you've got Donald Trump, who's a complete disaster. Project 2025 and his promise to cut taxes more for the rich and corporations while raising tariffs to tax poor people. We got a good message. The president has shown he is not capable of delivering that message in an effective way.
Just because, I shouldn't say just, because that 90-minute debate was a lot, but is this based entirely on that event? No.
There was concerns leading up to it in the terms of the president's ability to deliver a message, and it hasn't gotten better since the debate. The overall package shows We got a great message. I mean, when you looked at that debate, what all of us were feeling, my son who's in high school was, we should, sorry, he's in college now, but, any good debater could go back on what Donald Trump is saying.
I'm a master debater.
And so many missed opportunities were out there. And we want to deliver an effective message. And then there are the healthcare concerns. And look, a lot of Democrats.
So my own local representative thinks Biden should step down. That's pretty cool, in my opinion, because he agrees with me. I don't know. I feel like if Biden's not going to run, he should resign as president, too. That probably won't happen, but he probably should. And just hand it over to Kamala. I don't know. Unless, well, I don't know. Kamala isn't my first choice, but she's the most likely choice. So, and I agree that she's probably a better choice than Biden, because she can at least put two sentences together.
Saying, well, let's move on. Let's stop talking about it. We're not the ones who are bringing it up. We're not the ones who said anytime, any place. And only Joe Biden was on that stage with Donald Trump. Our constituents are bringing it up. The country is bringing it up. And the White House, campaign strategy of be quiet and fall in line and let's ignore it simply isn't working right now.
One of your colleagues talked to me on Background and said that the problem with this issue with President Biden is, and I'm paraphrasing what this member of Congress said to me, is...
And I guess in my opinion, which I think is very unlikely, would be a brokered convention, and we figure it out at the convention who the candidate is going to be. The primaries are a sham anyway. They're a waste of money. If they could... If the Democratic Party could actually make their primaries truly democratic, then they would actually matter, but they don't.
Be cute.
Just trying to be cute. But yeah, they're not. They used to actually wait until the convention to figure out who was going to be the candidate. They should just probably do that. That's just my feeling on it. Maybe this time we should do it. It definitely is making politics more interesting. I stopped covering politics a lot on this channel, on this show, because they were unbelievably boring to me. Even Donald Trump being tried for crimes. I talked about it when he got indicted and stuff, but then every day for a while, the news was just the same. There was really nothing progressing, and then he got convicted, and that was something new,
Every American has seen this in their own life. Everybody knows what a confused older person who is struggling with cognition issues, what it's like. And it's not consistently 100% 24/7 like that, but it is a process.
Yeah. No, and look, the president, as I said, has done a very good job as president. We've got a great record to run on. He's just not able to deliver it right now. And the healthcare, and it's a distraction. We should be talking about the record. We should be talking about Trump. But you saw the press conference.
Yeah.
We're not the ones who are forcing it. And sorry, I got to make one other point.
Yeah.
So the president talked today about how now it's all the elites who are trying to force him out.
The elites. So he's using like an Alex Jones talking point. The elites are trying to get rid of me. Can I get is that on video? Because this is the first I'm hearing about it, but if, I'll take his word on it since he's actually a representative and he has his finger on the pulse a little more than I probably do. Did Joe Biden actually blame the elites? Did that really happen? Because that's shit Jared Genesis says, because he's regurgitating what he heard other conspiracy theorists say. Does Joe Biden really believe he's not one of the elites? Did he really say this? Can someone find me proof? Can someone in the Discord post it in the news section if this is real? Can I get like a real quote? I need to know if Joe Biden really said this. Joe Biden is one of the elites. If there are the elites, he's one of them. I can't believe it. The elites are trying to push Joe Biden out. Here it is. Is this it? God damn it. It's the New York Times. They put their shit behind a paywall. I was going to bring this up, but it's behind a fucking paywall. God damn it. I hate you, New York Times. Well, I see an article about it, but it's bringing up its stupid paywall. Oh, here we go. Thank you, NBC, for not putting your shit behind a paywall. All right. Let's see. President Joe Biden is attempting to frame his quest to retain his candidacy as him against the elites in Washington. Dude, you are the elite in Washington right now. Who's he talking about? Can he name some names? But in interviews, rank and file Democrats, party chairs, battleground leaders, and elected officials say Biden has it exactly backwards. Yes, Biden is the elite, and he's having some of his buddies play defense for him. We've seen a few of them. I'm riding with Biden. I'm riding with Biden. You saw that guy. I don't even know who that was, but it was some other guy, some senator or whatever. So it's weird that it's all a conspiracy now. It's the elites. Are we going to get like the Biden version of QAnon where it's like, oh, the elites are just trying to take out President Biden. They actually drugged his drink that night at the debate. That's why he seemed all fucked up. Oh, he said it on Morning Joe? Man, maybe I should, I guess I need to listen to that interview. I kind of avoided that one. I'll grab it.
Right. Let's remember what happened in 2020. Okay, the president did not run a great primary campaign.
I didn't listen to that interview because I knew it was scripted.
Lost badly in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. He came out of Nevada, and Bernie Sanders looked like the presumptive nominee. And this exact same group of people,
the elites,
that the president is now deriding as elites. And by the way, they're not. They're Democrats. Okay. They're
the lower level people of his party. He's the elite one.
The operatives, they're donors.
He's the guy that's been there for 40 years, right? 50 years, however long. Okay. Yeah, so he said it on Morning Joe. I'm going to grab that interview and we'll watch it next.
Their volunteers decided, and to all the Bernie supporters out there, I'm not judging this positively or negatively, they decided they didn't want Bernie Sanders to be the nominee. They decided that Joe Biden would be the better nominee, and credit, again.
And they did the same thing with Hillary, too.
The president. He decided that because he did 8 years as vice president. He did the years in the Senate. He had the record to be a strong president. And so they, through their support behind Joe Biden, and Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren and Mike Bloomberg and Amy Klobuchar, and I may be forgetting a few others, stepped aside for the candidate who was better. This myth that somehow Joe Biden came in and rescued us, it has been a nationwide movement since Donald Trump was elected president. And in 2020, that nationwide movement said, Joe, you're the best guy, let's go. Right now, they don't think he is.
So what happens then in this scenario that he steps down, which we should note, he shows absolutely no indication. And I don't think it's just faking it for the cameras. No. All the reporting indicates that he, the First Lady, Hunter, and some of his top aides.
By the way, please like the stream if you haven't already. Thank you so much.
Are just 100% behind him and think that this is just the elites going after the Bidens again.
The elites. This sounds like some QAnon stuff. Before it devolves into like dead people coming back to life and you know, drinking adrenochrome from baby brains and stuff like that. I don't know.
Sorry for 1 second. What is the plan? What would the
Two quick things. One, I hope, and I completely agree with Adam Schiff and Mike Quigley and others who said,
that is a good one. That's what it should start being called, Blue Anon.
Let's put Joe Biden's ego aside. As candidates, there's this tendency to believe, oh, it's all about us. No, the candidate is always secondary. The primary thing is the constituents you're asking to represent. So I would ask them to put their personal feelings aside for Joe Biden. This isn't personal. It wasn't personal in 2020 when all of those people said it should be Joe. It was business. You're the guy we think can win. So I'm pleading with them, all right? I hear you. I think you're probably right. I'm pleading with them. Take a step back. Look at what is best for the party, what is best for the country. What happens? Personally, I think Kamala Harris would be a much better, stronger candidate. And because she is constitutionally his second, that's the way it's supposed to work. If the president is no longer able, Kamala Harris is there with.
Oh, you think he should step down from the presidency?
No.
Yes. See, the question is out there. I think he should step down from the presidency too, but he won't. He'll ride it out for the rest of this year.
No.
Okay, but
I'm talking about within the primary process.
The primary process. So
they ran as a team this year from the very start. Okay.
So you don't agree with Congressman Jim Clyburn, who said there should be at least some sort of mini primary process so that she's not anointed. So there. No.
Let me say, there's 1,000 different ways to do it, and that's fine. Okay. The president is not the nominee. He got a little testy this morning when I think Joe said he was the presumptive nominee.
Yeah.
He is. He's the presumptive nominee. And let me also say, and I put this in a statement that I'm about to put out, if we get through the convention, he's the nominee, I'm all in. Look, elections are a choice. And in this field, even in the current situation, Joe Biden, far and away the best candidate. But I know in my heart and my soul and my brain that we can do better, and I know what the stakes are, all right? And you've seen it. Even after the debate, he didn't come out and show that he could deliver the message. They didn't address the health care issues. So I just passionately believe that we can pick a better candidate. Like I said, I think it should be Harris. Ultimately, that's up to the delegates.
What do you think?
Make the selection.
What do you make of the fact that there's this visit by a Parkinson's doctor with the White House physician and they won't answer questions about it? I know you don't know the details about it. Well, here's the thing. It just seems to me, I've been in this town a little bit, you too, and like you have an issue about a candidacy based on ability and health concerns. So what do? You try to resolve them. One, you put the candidate out for 2 hours and let them take questions from the press. Show not just phone interviews and not just, George did a great job, but 22-minute taped interview is not what we're talking about. A full hour and a half, 2 hours, take questions, blah, blah, blah. And you put out all the health records. But they're not doing either of those.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not good. I know that because the doubts linger, the lack of transparency lingers. And again, the president has done a great job. Okay, we have a great record to run on, but what we've seen over and over again, he can't deliver that message. And the questions about his health, again, I did all this, Democrats should just shut up and get in line, don't question. We're not the ones bringing it up.
Right.
The president's debate performance and what has happened since then, as well as some incidents before that, are bringing it. We have to deal with it. And here's another point. It undermines our credibility. Now, it doesn't all have to be on the candidate. Messengers can be good. Wes Moore, Shapiro, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, we got really good messengers out there. But your credibility takes a blow if you can't answer questions about the president's health and his ability to deliver a message. If you act not important, shouldn't talk about it. So I think we can do better. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, gets the nomination, I'm all in. Right now, just like in 2020, when everyone said Joe Biden's the guy, let's get behind him, I think we need a different choice if we're going to be able to beat Donald Trump. And that's what matters. It's not about Joe Biden. It's not about individuals. It's about making sure we move this country in the right direction going forward.
Congressman Adam Smith, Democrat of Washington State, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for your candor. Also, I appreciate it.
Democratic Congressman.
I pretty much agree with almost everything that guy said. I'm kind of in the exact same boat as him. Like, I guess I'll vote for Biden. I'll vote for Biden if he's on the ballot. But I'm hoping they pick somebody else, and it'll probably be Kamala if they do.
Seth Moulton, he's calling on President Biden to step aside as the 2024 Democratic presidential nominee. And Congressman, I so much appreciate your time. You hear Leader Jeffries speaking out now, telling our Manu Raju that he does support the president. His position has not changed on that. Does it give you any pause in how strongly you have come out in the opposite direction?
No, it doesn't give me pause.
This was a hard decision for me to reach because I love Joe Biden. He's an amazing president. He's even been a great mentor and friend to me personally. I used to have breakfast with him when he was the vice president. He coached me on being a freshman in Congress. But we need to win this election. The reality, though, is that...
So he's like, I like Biden. He helped me early on in my political career. But it's time to move on.
All in until he's not, and I think a lot of party leaders feel the same way. For us in the rank and file, we're trying to be a little bit more honest and really just push in the right direction here. I hear from constituents all over the country right now that we're desperate to win this election, and we've got to make sure we have the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump.
So you did also hear, Congressman, the White House press briefing, that back and forth regarding a neurologist's visits, plural, to the White House. So I guess just asking you, and I understand, you've already made it clear what you think the president should do, that you think he should step aside. But what more do you want to hear from the White House right now about President Biden's health?
And in some ways, I think the health is a distraction. We need a campaign plan. We need to understand what he's going to do differently to win. Because right now, we're behind in the polls, especially in the key swing states. Polls aren't true, Jack. The president needs to carry this election. And those polls got worse after the debate. So we need to see a change in course. Not just one pre-taped interview over 7 days, over a week after the disastrous debate, but a real new plan to turn this around. Because when your strategy isn't working, you can't just double down on the same strategy. You have to have a new strategy. You have to have a new plan. And we haven't heard that yet from the White House.
That he could say that would, I understand that, is there something that he could say, though, that would change your conclusion here, right? Because you've been one of the few that have come out and you did so, even though many others either weren't willing to or were afraid to, right? But you did speak out. Is there something he could do or say at this point that would change your mind?
He really has to demonstrate that he can make a big comeback in the polls, because at the end of the day, defeating Donald Trump is what matters. It matters for not just the Democratic Party, but for our country, for our democracy. This is a convicted criminal who incited a mob to storm the Capitol, something that's never happened before in American history. And now he gets blanket immunity from the Supreme Court. The second term of Donald Trump could be far, far worse.
It's true. The immunity and just having the courts in his favor and not having to worry about a re-election or anything like that. He basically can do whatever he wants.
So what Democrats want, what I want, is a clear plan to win and a candidate who can demonstrate that he can go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump and defeat him. I mean, look, Aaron, this really should be easy. He's a convicted criminal. A lot of Republicans don't like Donald Trump. So we should be way ahead in the polls right now. It's gravely concerning to me that we're behind, and we're getting further behind after the debate.
So Jill Biden, the First Lady, obviously has been a steadfast defender of her husband by his side. And she said something today that I wanted to play for you, Congressman. Here she is.
Joe has made it clear that he's all in.
Bad idea. Four more years. Is he going to live 4 more years?
That's the decision that he's made. And just as he has always supported my career, I am all in too.
Congressman, you talk about those breakfasts you had, that he was a mentor, so you know him personally. How important is Jill Biden right now to the president and to his decision making?
I think she's incredibly important. She's an amazing woman, a great leader, and someone that the president obviously listens to carefully. But what I would say in response to that clip, with all due respect to the president, is this is not about you. My first introduction to serving the country was in the Marines, and I try to carry those values now into politics. And one of the things the Marines always drill into you is this is not about you. It's about your fellow Marines. It's about your country, putting the country first. And that's what we're asking the president to do. I know he loves his job. I know he loves serving the country. And I know he's done amazing things for America, not only as president, but for decades in the Senate. But this is a team sport. And Joe's the captain of our team. He needs to decide what's best for Democrats and for the country, not just for himself.
All right, well, Congressman Moulton, I appreciate your time and thoughts tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
And now I want to go straight to the Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia of California. He is on the Biden campaign's National Advisory Board. So, Congressman, I appreciate your time, and you had a chance there to listen to Seth Moulton. He wants Biden to step aside. He explains why. Why do you think that is wrong?
Because I work for Biden.
Well, thanks. I have a lot of respect for all my colleagues and their perspectives and opinions. I am 100% with President Biden and the Vice President. Actually, just not too long ago, our Speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, reinforced his support for the president. And I think the president, as he has said himself, is the one person in this country that has actually defeated Donald Trump. He's done it.
That doesn't mean anything. And we know what he was like back then. He was very different when he beat Trump.
Before, he'll do it again. He, of course, was greatly underestimated during his last election, during the primary. People counted him out, and he came back and won those primaries and then beat Donald Trump. And so I think that the caucus is uniting and hardening around him, supporting the president. You're seeing it in the grassroots. The folks that I talk to across this country, they support Joe Biden, and they want us to stick with him, and we certainly are.
So you mentioned Hakeem Jeffries, and he had, been listening to all of you in the caucus. He had been listening. He had said nothing. Now, as you point out, he's telling Armani Raju that he does back the president. Now, you heard Congressman Moulton say that doesn't sway him, that he feels the way he feels. But from others you've spoken to, will Hakeem Jeffries taking a stand and backing the president make a difference?
Of course. I mean, any time that you have Hakeem Jeffries, the next Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Jim Clyburn, the leadership of our party uniting once again and standing with the president and the vice president, that's incredibly important. But more importantly, it's the grassroots voters. Let's not forget.
You know what I notice? Fetterman, I don't know who the woman is with Fetterman. Okay. You see big ass Fetterman in the back. Isn't that his name? Senator Fetterman. I don't know who the woman standing next to him is, but they're like hip checking each other.
The leadership of our party uniting once again and standing with the president and the vice president. Look, that's incredibly important.
See how they're like,
but more importantly, it's the grassroots voters. Let's not forget that the president had his.
Oh, that's Mrs. Fetterman. Okay, I'm like, what? Why are they getting so? So that's his wife. I just looked it up. He's always dressed so dumpy in like shorts and a hoodie. Most senators wear a suit and tie. And he just wears whatever the fuck. He wears like a hoodie and shorts.
Absolute best fundraising numbers right after the debate. We're hearing from grassroots voters across the country. They are standing with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And so absolutely, I think having Hakeem's support is going to be critical. And I'm seeing today, I mean, the base of this party is our Black voters, our Latino voters. Those members, those voters are coming out strongly, and we are hearing from them to reinforce our support for the president. So I think what you're seeing now especially is this fighting spirit in Joe Biden. I think what he did today, what he's been doing the last couple of days, and really fighting back, punching back at Donald Trump, who has been horrific for this country, is exactly the kind of fighter that we're going to see for the rest of the campaign.
All right. Now, you are also on the House Oversight Committee, so I want to ask you about this, Congressman. The chairman of your committee, James Comer, is asking President Biden's Dr. Kevin O'Connor to come in for an interview. Now, he asked for that before the White House briefing today.
Oh, my God. I'll show you something. This is kind of ridiculous. Can I display it in? Let's see. We'll get back to that in just a second here. Does this work? Yes. See Fetterman with his wife at some kind of fancy event, and Fetterman's wearing a tuxedo hoodie and shorts still. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't like to dress up. I don't like to put on suits and stuff. But if I was a senator, I probably would anyway. You know, it's a job that kind of has like a formal dress code. He looks dumpy. He doesn't look like a senator. Which is, I mean, I guess you got to give him credit for being himself. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Day, and in that briefing, they would not confirm why O'Connor met with a Parkinson's specialist earlier this year. Are you concerned that the White House is not giving specifics on this, or do you have any questions about the president's health?
Well, first, I mean, James Comer goes from one tinfoil hat conspiracy theory hearing to the next. I mean, it's been a constant attack on President Biden this entire.
It's all. Oh, I don't even care what this guy has to say. Oh, it's the elites. Blah blah blah. They're going to talk about the polls in a second here, but I do want to say, like, another thing about Fetterman is he's like 6'10" or something like that. So he stands out because he's so huge, and he dresses like he has like I just picture a whole closet full of hoodies and a whole bunch of Dickie shorts. He wears like the long shorts. I have a couple pairs of shorts like that are like long because I'm old, and that was like the style when I was in my late teens and 20s. So it's kind of funny. It's just weird because he's like such a big guy. I don't know. To me, I'm just like, what the fuck? Every time I see him, I'm like, who is that guy dressed like that?
A piece of it. More than a week since the debate, and after talking with my constituents, I believe President Biden must do more to demonstrate he can campaign strong enough to beat Donald Trump. There is such a case to be prosecuted against Donald Trump. President Biden has to lead the charge in making that case. CNN John King joins us.
I don't get the wearing a shorts and a hoodie. Like, I wear shorts when it's hot, and then I'm usually wearing a T-shirt or something like this when it's hot. And then when I'm wearing a hoodie, I would probably wear a hoodie and jeans. It's weird that he wears like a long sleeve hoodie meant to keep you warm, but he's wearing shorts. It's kind of a mismatch.
That was some thoughts on that. John?
Anderson, that is a senior Democratic lawmaker from a very blue state out on the West Coast, a former colleague, close colleague of Joe Biden in the United States Senate before he was vice president, saying, Mr. President, you have to do more. Not saying Mr. President gets out. The conversation you just had was so telling. You know, President Biden is trying to keep the support of his friends in the Black Caucus. He's trying to keep that support because it's such a foundational element of the Democratic Party, and it causes strife for other lawmakers. If the Black Caucus stays with the president, it's hard for many other Democrats to stand up and say, get out. But you have Democrats who are looking at all the data, and now a member of the Senate leadership who does not want Republicans to take charge of the Senate, saying, Mr. President, you need to lead the charge. What does she mean by that? You need to change the numbers. That's what she's saying. They want to see the numbers in the polling change, and they want to see it fast, Anderson, and that's hard to do. The president this morning said it's just the elites in the Democratic Party trying to push him out. But I'm just back from another trip on the road, Anderson. I want to take you to Wisconsin, right? And I want to show you, here's Milwaukee down here. This is blue. The president has to win here. Then you go just north of Milwaukee, you get to Ozaukee County. Just over the line down here is a little town called Cedarburg. This used to be reliably red country. If you see in the county, Trump got 55% last time. Trump struggles in the suburbs. Cedarburg is right down here. We spent some time with voters. They are not elites, Anderson. Many of them Democrats, many loyal Biden voters. Many of them say, Mr. President, please think about getting out.
Cedarburg, Wisconsin, the 4th of July. The city's legendary parade runs 2 hours, as middle America as it gets. Locals call Cedarburg a living Hallmark movie. Picturesque, polite. Gina Salento was parade grand marshal this year.
All right.
And carries the Keep It Civil theme over to her growing pickleball studio.
It just really is a place for people to forget what's going on in the real world, and they can focus on just having fun and getting along.
You think they need a place to forget what's going on in the real world? Why?
They do, because it's extremely, people have these anger issues. It's so polarizing what's going on.
Yes, signs of polarization even here. But anxiety among Democrats is what jumps out now.
I think that last week hurt so much that he's really got to think of the party and the country before he thinks of himself.
Lisa and Troy Reisman own a moonshine business, are Biden voters, and are still stunned by his debate disaster.
Quite frankly, I didn't even finish watching. I was really having a hard time watching it.
And yeah, it was definitely scary. The first people that I called were my parents who are really old. And yeah, I said, what did you guys think about that? Because obviously I still know where I'm going to vote, where my vote's going to lie, but they don't. And they were equally as scared.
Tiny Cedarburg, population 12,000, is a new battleground community within one of America's most competitive ground states. Not long ago, it voted lopsided Republican, but Donald Trump struggles in America's changing suburbs. He won Cedarburg in 2016, but with just...
Yeah, I've seen that sort of like lawn decoration where it's like somebody peeing on something.
55%. Joe Biden won in 2020, just barely, by 19 votes. Biden's voters say a repeat win here suddenly feels less likely.
We just need fresh leadership, new leadership, and somebody who's a little bit more... I like Joe Biden as a person. You know, I think he stands for good things, but I'm just not sure he's there anymore to lead the country.
Think of the future. Think of our kids and grandkids, and maybe you should step aside only because this future doesn't look too bright with the other side taking over.
Alan Naparella is a fiscal conservative and social liberal.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Like many here, disgusted with the choices.
There's something wrong. Are we going to keep going for the better of two evils? I mean, something's going to change. We need a logical party. We need an independent party that makes sense.
Naparella leans Biden because he can't vote for Trump.
It's embarrassing how he speaks to people, how he treats people, how he responds to other countries.
What was going through your mind watching the debate?
Watching Biden try to get through his words was just bad. Just bad. Now, yeah, everybody has a bad day. I get it. But the thing is this was a time that it was your time to shine.
Did he look to you like someone who could serve for president for 4.5 more?
He's fiscally conservative because he owns a business. He's socially liberal because he's gay, right? Is that because they said he's fiscally conservative but socially liberal? So he's like a businessman, but he's also gay.
4 years?
I think that let me put it this way. I'm voting for the party right now.
Do you think Vice President Harris is qualified to be president?
No.
Oh, man, yeah.
But you might vote for Joe Biden.
Anyway.
Before the debate, Naparella thought Biden could eke out another Wisconsin win. Now, big doubts. Yet he worries switching candidates might backfire.
Who's going to do it? And it's so late in the election process that, Trump will be a shoo-in anyway.
Naparella moved here to care for his aging mother. His wines are made in California and sold in small-town Cedarburg with a flashy slogan that draws fewer complaints now than when he first opened shop 5 years ago.
I've seen the demographic change a little bit. So now you're kind of getting on an even keel between conservative and liberal.
Gina Salento calls herself an independent libertarian, a good teacher, very competitive. A past Trump voter, very unhappy with the present.
This is the best our country can do. There's certain things I feel just overall sadness for. And to me, the biggest issue is that a house divided cannot stand. That's just, there's truth to that. And I'm seeing our country erode instead of thrive.
Salento can't see herself voting Biden, but won't commit to voting Trump. Proof there, Biden's setbacks aren't automatically points for Trump. But in politics like pickleball, it helps to set the pace. Nothing interrupts treasured tradition here. But as the election year calendar turns another page, the mood change in this battleground is stunning.
Well, John, the Biden campaign has a theory that voters who are concerned about Biden's health aren't going to turn around and vote for Trump. Does that theory capture the whole picture?
It's a risky theory, Anderson. The Biden voters we spoke to, even the ones who said, please, Mr. President, step aside, say if he does not, they will vote for him in the end. But those are strong Biden voters. You heard Troy Reisman there. He said he called his parents. They're still undecided. What are they going to do? In a place like Cedarburg, there are a lot of soft Republicans or independents who don't like Trump. But if they saw the debate and they're like, woof, people at a picnic approached me and said, woof, here's the danger. If it's just Trump-Biden, sure, maybe they stay with Biden. But remember 2016? Third-party candidates matter. Third-party candidates matter. There are already 1 or 2 on the ballot in Wisconsin, several on the ballot in Michigan. If there are third-party candidates on the ballot and you are demoralized and don't want to vote for Biden, you have an option. You will have an option. And we learned in 2016 that option can make the difference.
And how critical is Wisconsin to Biden's path to victory?
Simple math. Let me pull out to the 2016 map. You see, Donald Trump wins Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. These 3 tend to go together. The 3 of them, they're Democratic states. The demographics are lined up. But Donald Trump flipped them, the great blue wall, right? And he's president of the United States. Joe Biden flipped him back, and he's president of the United States. Wisconsin, only 10 electoral votes. Yes, you can mathematically make it up somewhere else, but it's part of the Democratic blue wall. If you are a Democrat, you need it.
There you have it. Okay, so I'm going to watch the Morning Joe interview in just a minute, though. I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Please do not leave. I'll be right back. Back. Here we go. All right, so now we're going to take a look at this Morning Joe interview.
Now for something a little different, and from inside the White House, we have a special guest joining us now, the 46th President of the United States and presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden, calling in to Morning Joe right now. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Mika, I'm more than presumption. I'm going to be the Democratic nominee.
There you go.
Okay, well, Mr. President, that leads to the letter that we just received a few minutes ago. And I'm curious, there's a part of it where you talk about the fact that you got 14 million votes, 87% of the vote. It was an open process. You only had 3 people running against you. You have 3,900 delegates. And then you ask this question, do we now just say the process didn't matter, that the voters didn't have a say? I'm curious, is that an allusion also to Donald Trump and the fact that Democrats, you believe, may now be doing the same thing that Donald Trump tried to do in 2020, and that is overthrow the popular will of Democratic voters?
Well, look, Joe, let me say it this way. The reason I've been out on the road so much all over the country, and while Trump is riding around in a golf cart, filling out his golf cart before he even hits the ball. But anyway, he hadn't been anywhere in 10 days. I've been all over the country, number one. And I've gone over the country for several reasons. One, to make sure my instinct was right about the party still wanting me to be the nominee. And all the data shows that the average Democrat out there who voted, the 14 million of them that voted for me, still want me to be the nominee, number one. Number two, the idea that Donald Trump has gained in any substantial way, has his argument to why he should be president is anywhere convincing than it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. It's just not there. And we're just starting to focus on Trump. And look, I attended services, spoke to over 600 people at Mount Airy Church of God in Christ in Philly. I stopped by campaign field offices with John Fetterman and Madeline Dean, both strongly supporting me. The president and the first lady, we spoke at a campaign ice cream social for AFSCME.
Ice cream social.
Council 13 in Harrisburg. 40 minutes after we spoke with supporters. Stopped by Denim Coffee. I mean, I was with the governor of Pennsylvania, who's still strongly supporting me. I mean, so look, and the fact is that this week I'm going to be hosting NATO Summit here in D.C., going to hold a press conference on Thursday. On Wednesday, I met with the national union leaders of AFL-CIO. On Friday, I traveled to Detroit, Michigan for a campaign event. Just on down the line. And so I'm not getting any of what I was told. I wanted to make sure I was right, that the average voter out there still wanted Joe Biden. And I'm confident they do. And I'm confident, and like I said, the press is with me. I think they've been fairly fair. I haven't read any reporting they did today. But the fact is that, I think they have to acknowledge. We had large crowds, enthusiastic crowds.
He loves those ice cream socials. He needs the chocolate chip.
And now they're talking about whether I use a prompter. Well, I did it all extemporaneously. The fact of the matter is, I was using prompters too. I don't get that. But at any rate, the bottom line here is that we're not going anywhere.
Bottom line,
I'm not
Jack.
going anywhere. I wouldn't be running if I didn't absolutely believe that I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in 2024. We had a Democratic nominating process where the voters spoke clearly. I won 14 million of those votes, et cetera. So I not only believe that from the beginning, but I wanted to reassert and demonstrate that it's true. And I'm going to be doing that all through this week and from here on.
So we noted yesterday that it was quite a contrast to the people that were supporting you yesterday compared to, say, a lot of the Washington insiders and Hollywood moguls, and go down the list of very powerful people that want you out, compared to the support that you had in Pennsylvania yesterday. That said, there are a lot of people of goodwill who love you, who believe you did a great job in your first term, who are still concerned. Yesterday, the topic came up of the Stephanopoulos interview, where you were asked the question, how would you feel if Donald Trump beat you? How would you feel after you lost? And you said, well, as long as I did the best I could do.
That's not what he said. He said, did my goodest.
That's the most important thing. That's caused Democrats concern, who believe that losing is not an option. What would you say to those who are concerned by that answer?
It's not an option, and I've not lost. I haven't lost. I beat him last time. I'll beat him this time.
Just because you beat him last time doesn't mean you'll beat him this time. You debated him last time and did better against him.
Look, we talk about debates. Look at his performance with debates. He lied over, Trump has 50 lies.
He lied and you let him get away with it.
I mean, look, this is a guy who said...
Calling the lie out days after it happened doesn't change anything.
Percent of the universe... I want to get into Bennett. He's just a liar. And he hadn't done a damn thing since the debate. He's been riding around in the golf cart for 10 days. He's down in Mar-a-Lago talking with his wealthy friends. I'm not running because of these guys, Joe. I'm running because, and you know me well enough to know this from the very beginning, I ran because I never bought on to the trickle-down economic theory. I never bought into the notion that we have to walk away from the rest of the world and cave to Putin or anybody else. I've never believed any of that. And I'm confident that's where the American people are. So what I did was I went out and I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any slippage at all. And with the average voter, I don't care what the millionaires think. And by the way, 97% of all the people who contribute to us are people making under 200, contributing under $200. I think we have the largest contingent ever in history. I'm not positive of that, but I think that's true. And so I want their support, but that's not the reason I'm running. I'm not running about what they think and what they care about. And by the way, you don't see a whole hell of a lot of them flocking to Trump. You don't see a whole lot of CEOs flocking to Trump.
I mean, we see the polls flocking to Trump. We see you going down and him going up.
You don't see you see the major economists out there talking about what I have been able to do. I don't hear anybody talking about his economic plan likely to bring America around and keep America first. And by the way, here's Trump talking about all that he's done and Trump and his debate night. He's a pathological liar. He lied about Roe. He refused to accept the outcome of the election. He refused to condemn January.
I won by a lot.
And
by the way, please, if you're out there and you want to help contribute to the show, I'm looking to start a tip train. Maybe we could even get to 70% during this stream. If you want to chuck a $5 at me right now, that would be amazing, because then other people will do it. It's trickle-down economics, everybody.
They claim he spoke with Putin before he invaded. What the hell are we doing, Joe? What are we doing? This is bizarre.
Yeah. It's a good question. I have a few questions, Mr. President, and I know you know where I stand. And yet, I have a few questions. First, it's very simple. How can you assure the American people that you won't have another night like the one you did in Atlanta?
Look at my career. I've not had many of those nights. It was a terrible...
Right, you've had a very long career. And your career is almost over.
Night, and I really regret it happened.
I can't look at your career when you were like in your 30s and 40s and 50s and compare it to now.
But the fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be on faith that can intervene on your way to go to work tomorrow? Age wasn't the idea. I'm too old. Created over 15 million jobs, 21 million insured for the ACA, beat Big Pharma, relieved student debts for 5 million people, first black woman in the court. So I think I had a significant run, and that's how I'd measure me. Measure me what I've done. And by the way, in terms of my neurological capacity, I had a physical, a neurological physical as well in February. It's released. I released all my records, all of them. And I have a neurological test every single day. Try sitting behind this desk and making these.
That's not a neurological test. That's such a cop-out. Yeah, I have a neurological test every day because I'm the president. So it's like I had a neurological test every day. It's so misleading and manipulative. I don't like it.
Decision. You know it. Both of you know it. They know it. I'm not bad at what I do. And now, it doesn't mean I never make a mistake. I do. But I'm making those decisions.
Mr. President, if anybody in my family had a night like that, like if my Joe had a night like that, or my kids or anybody, I'd probably want to do some sort of workup and medical workup and make sure he's okay. Have you been tested for any age-related illnesses, pre-Parkinson's, or anything like that that might explain sort of having a night like that where you couldn't finish sentences?
Look, I had before, I was feeling so badly before the debate. When I came back, they tested me for, I thought maybe I had COVID, maybe there was something wrong, I had an infection or something. They tested me, they gave me those tests, I was clear. So, but look, I had a bad night.
My grandfather had Parkinson's. He would get combative anytime someone challenged his capabilities. But if we don't like him, we can vote for the other Joe Biden.
The other Joe Biden.
But the fact of the matter is, look at what I'm doing. I mean, let me put it this way. If there was something that was wrong that night, it's not like it comes and that's one night and it goes away. That's why I've been out. I've been testing myself, been testing everywhere I go, going out and making the case. The night of that debate, I went out. I was out till 2 o'clock in the morning that very night. That very night, it drives me nuts, people talking about this. That very night, I'm talking to large crowds. Look at the crowds we've gathered everywhere from Atlanta to North Carolina to Pennsylvania, and look at the enthusiasm. But it was right after. Where the hell's Trump been? What has Trump said or done except deny and lie about what he's for?
Okay, so you have repeatedly said that all of these people and entities are wrong. And let me go through them. The New York Times editorial board, The Economist, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Boston Globe, Jerry Nadler, Seth Moulton. Let me go to Julian Castro, Tim Ryan, David Axelrod, David Remnick, Richard Haas. Yeah, I know which one you're responding to there. Zeke Emanuel. But they're saying that you should step aside. So what is your plan of attack moving forward? These are pretty big names.
To go out and keep doing their big names, but I don't care what those big names think.
The elites.
They're wrong in 2020. They're wrong in 2022 about the red wave. They're wrong in 2024. And come out with me. Watch people react. You make a judgment. You make a judgment. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I'm going to have all these foreign leaders here. I've been in contact.
There's time all the way up until Election Day. Biden could choose to drop out at any time. He could resign as president. So if you look at every possibility, there's time all the way up until Election Day for him to not run, and Kamala would just end up running in his place.
The new British Prime Minister anyway. Look,
he has the right to step down at any moment he chooses.
The country, the rest of the world is looking, our allies are looking for U.S. leadership. Who else do you think could step in here and do this? I expanded NATO. I solidified NATO.
And it's technically not official until they have the convention, because that's when they'll offer him the nomination and he publicly accepts it. And for the last several election cycles, that was always just a ceremonial thing because they had already pretty much chosen. But this time, it seems like people just don't want him. But what percentage of the overall party is that?
Ask your brother about it in Poland. I made sure that we're in a position where we have a coalition of people of the nations around the world to deal with China, with Russia, with everything that's going on in the world. We're making real progress. The Biden plan, which got in Israel for the Gaza Strip, is something that was adopted by the UN Security Council. Whether it comes to fruition, it's awful close. We'll see. G7's okay. But look, I'm not going to explain any more about what I should or shouldn't do. I am running. And if you want to stop me,
I wanted to ask you, it's so interesting. You talked about how, you were supposed to lose in 2020. You won. There's supposed to be a huge wave in 2022. There wasn't. In 2023, Republicans were supposed to win. They didn't. You could say the same thing about France. Le Pen was supposed to win in 2 years ago. She ended up getting crushed. Her party, her far-right nationalist extreme party, was supposed to win yesterday. They ended up getting crushed. I'm curious, what message do you take from the French elections and the British elections? Because we keep hearing about the rise of far-right nationalist extremism in Europe. But I've got to say, it looks like this past week has been the worst week for far-right nationalists between Britain and France. I'm wondering what you say about that and what message you take to NATO allies this week.
Look, Joe, let's get something clear about 20 and 24. Not only were they wrong, I said they were wrong beforehand. I said we were going to win and how we're going to win. I didn't pretend about it. It wasn't like, oh, my God, I was surprised. I was not surprised. I predicted it. I knew what we were doing, number one. Number two, you may remember, I was one of the few people out there publicly saying before the 2022 election, there will be no red wave. There will be no red wave. Because I've been all over the country. I didn't believe it at all. And then in 2023, the key elections, I went into those races. Not every one of them, but a lot of them. And I said we were going to win. Look at we won those. So, Joe, it wasn't just that it didn't happen. I was predicting beforehand it would not happen. Because I've got a pretty good political instinct and eye. And here's the deal. It's not going to happen here this time around. The American public is not going to move away from me as an average voter. And again, I'm here for two reasons, pal. One, to rebuild the economy for hardworking middle-class people, give everybody a shot. Just a straight shot. Everybody gets a fair chance, number one. Number two, remember all this talk about how I don't have the black support? Come on, give me a break.
The black support.
Come with me. Watch. I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party.
Elites.
Who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce the president. Challenge me at the convention. On Europe.
I would see he's asking for it. They should start calling his bluff now. Him being like, come on, I dare ya, challenge me.
The polls are wrong.
This sounds like it's mostly just ego. Like, I dare you to challenge me for president.
France, they're also right. There's no right wave or tide here in America either. By the way, in case you're wondering whether there is one, have you ever seen Trump run away so fast from what he's for? You know he's going to do it anyway, but he's such a liar. This guy everybody knows what they're planning to do. And now he's saying, no. This guy is going to rip away at a woman's right to choose in a permanent way. This guy is going to make sure that he exacts revenge. This guy's going to destroy democracy. This guy's going to give a blank check to the Supreme Court and he's going to use its past, the 2025 agenda. This guy's extremely dangerous. But you notice he doesn't speak up for what he really is for.
He's rambling.
All of a sudden realizing, oh my God, nobody's for what I'm for. But anyway, look, and again, think of the things he lied about. He talked about he gave the largest tax cut in history. Yeah, he gave the largest tax cut in history to millionaires and billionaires. He said that he's going to do 10% universal tax proposal.
Oh my God, what a great screen cap right here. Look at that.
going to drive prices higher.
Looks like he's singing.
Every major economist in the world is saying it's going to drive the average $2,500 per person. Only jobs we created for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs and bounce back from COVID. Give me a break. That's what he said at the convention. At the debate. Everything he said. He said, he largely fixed COVID. You kidding me? And what happened? Nobody said anything. Nobody said anything except me and the folks out there in the local, race. He said, I did nothing to stop Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In fact, he said, I think I encouraged Russia from going. I think he encouraged Russia going in. I'm reading from the list of lies. First of all, he was made up quotes, suckers and losers. I was with it. He called the Americans in the cemeteries from World War I suckers and losers. And so
we heard you say that.
Start to answer for what he did. I'm not letting up, Joe. I am not letting up a little bit. And by the way, France registered. Look. You talk about Europe. France rejected extremism. Democrats will reject it here as well. Trump, and this is a guy who is an extreme candidate. I can't think of a candidate in my lifetime that's been more extreme. He makes George Wallace look like a patriot.
President Joe Biden, let's make this a thing. Thank you for calling in. We really appreciate it. And
got the
thank you for answering our questions.
If you're willing to hear from me, I'm willing to talk to you. Thank you very much.
We will take it on a regular basis.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Greatly appreciated.
President Joe Biden.
Hey there, MS.
All right, this is an interesting one.
Academy Award-winning filmmaker Michael
Moore
is not only calling on President Biden to drop out of the race. In a July 4th essay, he writes that it is time for Biden to step down and for Vice President Kamala Harris to take the reins. He is also host of the Rumble with Michael Moore podcast, and he joins me now. Michael, it's good to have you back on the show. You have some harsh words in this piece that you wrote, not as much of it directed at Biden, but at
Michael Moore is one of those people that should probably grow a beard.
Around him. Explain why you see it that way.
Well, thanks for having me on. The first thing I want to say is I've been sitting in the virtual green room here at MSNBC, and the Lord Almighty is actually back there, sitting in the room. And he will not tell us anything about what's going on. He's only weirdly concerned with the slump that the Yankees have been in for the last month. So but Lord, Biden just said last night, you're the decider. You decide if he stays or goes. And he's like, leave me out of this. Okay. Want me to walk on water? I can do that. Want me to turn a bunch of loaves of bread and fish into feeding thousands? I can do that. But don't ask me to get involved in this crazy election. Listen, I think that, yes, I need to start by saying, and of course, I've been very critical of President Biden, especially since October with the war. I'm very disappointed. But this individual has been the most progressive president that we've had in my lifetime. 3.5 years, you just look at the record. I don't need to go over, I hope I don't need to go over it, or what he's done to stand up for how he got us through COVID. He got us through COVID by using science and vaccines. He removed, and I said this back in the
science and vaccines, as if those aren't the same thing.
Moved the devil in 2020. I mean, just go down the list. But the problem here is that I think there's a form of elder abuse going on here, where the Democratic Party and the people that are part of the apparatus pushing him to stay, and then he comes out and he says, I'm staying, and the family says, I'm staying, and I don't know about you, Eamon, but in spite of my criticisms about Gaza with Biden, watching the debate a week ago was heartbreaking. Yeah. It was, and it was like, imagine that was your father up there. What would you want to, I'm thinking, why isn't anybody doing anything? Why didn't they do it? Why did they even let him go out on the stage in this condition? Who was looking out for him?
Yeah.
Who's looking out for him right now? George asked those questions last night, and he had to ask it 3 or 4 times. Will you just get a checkup, a medical evaluation, a neurologist? Something doesn't seem right. And we're not doctors, but each of us, all of you watching this right now, have had or have in your life 4 grandparents and 2 parents. There's at least 6. You've got step parents and step grand. We all have seen the decline of the people we love as they get older. It's normal. It happens. That's not to say that somebody shouldn't be able to be president at 81. I don't believe that. I mean, look at Ben Franklin. Look at all the people throughout our history that did quite well into their 80s. Nancy Pelosi is older than Biden.
Nancy Pelosi, not a fan of hers, but yes, she is more mentally acute. Like, she's more, like, things are still working in her brain better than Biden.
So clearly, this is not an ageist attitude here. Right. This is more like something was wrong that night. We all saw it. We can't unsee it. And as Richard Pryor and before that Chico Marx said, who are you going to believe? Me or your own lying eyes? My eyes weren't lying, and yours weren't either, even.
It's a very important point that you bring up, because I think there's also another elephant in the room here. And in all of the calls that we have seen for President Biden to step aside, the issue of what is happening or has been happening in Gaza has not been mentioned, has taken a back seat. But you address this. You address Gaza in your piece. And should Biden's decision making on Gaza have been a warning sign about him long before his bad debate performance, which is something that I was looking at as well and saying, like, hey, there's something off in the decision making here if you're seeing what is happening across America and still being intransigent and pursuing the same policy with no change, of course.
I've been saying this since the last week of October. I've said it on this network that there's a real problem now. And I don't think people understand what the problem is, but for not only losing young people. See, the thing about young people is they don't like war. They don't like any war, probably because they're the ones that are going to have to go fight the war. So they're generally against the war to begin with. But I come from a state, Michigan, where there are 200 to 300,000 voters who are either of Arabic descent or are Muslim. 200 to 300,000 Arab and or Muslim voters. And the Arab American Institute took a poll the last week of October when the real attack and slaughter started on the part of Netanyahu in Gaza. And that poll showed, and they did this poll with 4 states that have Arab populations, Michigan, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And the poll said that the number of people, Biden got about 60% of the Arab vote back in 2000. As of the last week of October, that had dropped to, people were saying for the November election coming up, less than 20% of Arab Americans are going to vote for Biden this time. That was the end of October. They did another poll at the end.
He's losing the Arab American vote.
May, just a month and a half ago. Same number. Down to less than 20% of Arab Americans. You cannot have in the state of Michigan.
Jay saying him and Michael Moore look a lot alike when they shave their beards. I think he said they both look like fat lesbians.
300,000 voters.
He does give me like lunch lady vibes here.
That are Arab or Muslim.
Yeah.
And expect and they're telling you, not only that, vast numbers of them are saying that they're not even going to show up to vote. And the funny thing about Trump's numbers with Arab American voters in the same poll, he got 1/3 of the Arab American vote in 2020, Trump. And today, by this poll in May, he's still at 1/3. He hasn't gone up or down. But the fact that Biden is not going to get, and that people are going to stay home, and young people, they did a poll of young people recently, and it said 12% of them plan on, they're going to vote, but they're not going to vote on the top line for president. And in Michigan, in 2016, this is the year that Trump won Michigan by 2 votes per precinct over Hillary. And in 2016, there were 75,000 Michiganders who actually showed up to vote.
I am looking at the latest CNN map, which is they update it daily based on the polling out there, and Michigan is leaning red right now. So that's very bad for Biden. You know, let's assume Trump gets Arizona, and then Biden wins Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Oh, whoa. This would be hilarious if this happened. But yeah, so Biden needs to get Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
Time traveler steps on a bug the timeline. Michelle Moore, lunch
lady. I hate these states that split their votes, Nebraska and Maine, because it makes calculating this a little more difficult. It's because you need 270 to win. What would they do if neither of them got 270? How does that work? Yeah, they both got 269. What if they each got 269? That is possible, right? What would we do then? Does anybody know? Do they have overtime like they would in sports? Oh, it goes to the House. I'm pretty sure I've heard that before, but I forget. Arizona. Let's give Arizona to Trump. Let's give Pennsylvania and Wisconsin
I disagree.
to Biden.
I think we should do that in every state. It would force presidential candidates to visit every state so they can get as many votes.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine with the idea of it. I just hate the fact that there's two of them, that when I'm trying to calculate who would win, I have to consider how those are split. No, I like the idea of having them. I just hate like trying to deal with them when I'm dealing with these maps. Yeah. Trump. I think if Trump wins Arizona, let me give Arizona to Biden here. So even if Biden wins Arizona, if Trump wins Michigan, he wins. If Trump wins PA, he wins. Even if Biden has Arizona. If Trump wins Wisconsin, it'll
Damn
come.
You and your maptism.
Yeah, I have the maptisms. And I have maptism rage. If you make me mad while I'm trying to do my maps. I'm not sure how to split the votes on this map. Oh, down here. I see. Nebraska normally goes completely red though, right? Oh, there's three. There's 3 districts. Yeah, now I made Nebraska all stripey. Ain't that cool? How many does Maine have? Do they only have 2? No, they have 3 also. There we go. Now Maine's all stripey. That's pretty cool. I mean, if Washington had several, splitting the electoral votes, Eastern Washington and Central Washington would probably be mostly red. And it'd mostly be Western Washington, that's the blue part.
But refused to vote on the top line. And they were mostly people in Democratic precincts. They didn't want to vote for Hillary. And by not doing it, Hillary lost Michigan by 10,000 votes.
You make such a compelling point about the politics of this, which is something Joe Biden has prided himself on being, an astute politician, somebody that he says with his age he has learned over decades of experience that you have to be an astute politician to kind of thread that needle and pick up these swing states. Politico reported this week that the governor of your state, Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, warned the White House that the critical swing state is no longer winnable. As soon as that was reported, Whitmer's team denied it and said that Biden was going to win Michigan. And of course, I go back to what, again, you were just saying this, but you warned famously back in 2016 that Trump was going to win the White House by winning Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Should the alarm bells be going off right now in the White House, politically speaking? Forget the argument about age, forget the argument about Gaza. You are in a
forget the moral argument about Gaza.
Forget the moral argument. I'm just talking about politically right now.
Yes, this is what's so bizarre, and I think Governor Whitmer, I don't know why she walked it back. Maybe she feels differently. I don't know, but it is how most people who follow politics in Michigan believe that it's almost unwinnable now. Michelle Goldberg, in a column 3 months ago, the headline was "Lose Michigan, lose the election." It was that she spent a number of.
In most scenarios, that's true. Pennsylvania's the
only one who cares about Nebraska is the Mayan corn god, Hunahpu.
Hunahpu? Yeah, Michigan is very valuable. Pennsylvania is very valuable. Those two are the top two swing states. But Michigan is trending Trump right now, so.
Stays there in the Detroit area, in Dearborn, around talking to a lot of Arab Americans in Michigan, and it was clear to her, very clear, that this is a lost state for Biden. That didn't have to be that way.
Let's check this out really quick. So let's give, so is Omaha, I don't know which one is Omaha. I guess we'll assume this one goes blue here. And Maine, I guess they're giving some of the Maine votes to Trump, but they're giving some to Biden there. And then let's say Trump wins Arizona. And he wins Pennsylvania and he wins Wisconsin. That wouldn't be enough. Let's give Biden Arizona now. Still Trump wins. So Biden needs Arizona, Michigan. It is not looking good. There's not a lot of scenarios Biden wins. Not really. Let's give Michigan to Biden, but give Wisconsin to Trump. Biden wins in this scenario. Give Arizona. Yes, but yeah, here, even if Biden loses Wisconsin and Arizona, even if he wins Michigan and Pennsylvania, he still loses. So he has to win these three here. Or he has to win Arizona. So he can afford to lose Wisconsin. Yeah, he cannot afford to lose Michigan or Pennsylvania. Yeah, he cannot afford. Even with Arizona and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, he can't afford to lose Michigan. And he can't afford to lose Pennsylvania at all because it's 19 votes. Yeah. He has to win both Pennsylvania and Michigan and win either Wisconsin or Arizona. Unless there's an upset in some of these other states that are light red, which Michigan is currently light red on this. I can't believe Oregon. There is that big conservative. There are a lot of conservatives. I was like, I can't believe Oregon's light blue. But then I remember, like, there's a fair amount of conservatives in Oregon that want to leave the state and join Idaho.
I mean, he won by, geez, it was over 100,000 votes in Michigan in 2020.
Yeah.
The fact that he would lose and possibly lose this number of Arab and Muslim votes and young people did the same thing on the campuses all spring in Michigan. The difference between Michigan and Columbia or UCLA is Governor Whitmer didn't send in the state police to beat up students, didn't tear tents down. Eventually, it went to court. Eventually, it had to come down, but not till pretty much the school year was over. But that's Michigan. That she knows, and I think this is the part I don't get about Biden. What is in any politician's mind? What is their number one job? Get reelected,
right?
No matter what,
right?
And the fact that he would decide to hug Netanyahu, to go there and tell him, as the tape you just showed in November, just people wanting a ceasefire, that's it. No, he goes, no. This has, I think, really rattled people in my state. And why he would purposely do this, is another sign that something isn't quite right here, because his political instincts are off. And I just I don't know. I think that we're in a lot of trouble now. If you'd asked me, Eamon, a year ago this week, if I was on your show then, and how do I think Michigan will go? I would have said to you, not only do I think this about Michigan, I think Biden's going to get reelected. I don't care where the polls are at. Yep. I just think that Trump lost by not just the 7 million to Biden. There were 10 million. You got to throw the third party voters in. Right. 10 million Americans that said, we don't want Trump. For Trump to win this time, that means he's got to convince at least 5 million of them to switch their votes. That ain't happening. He's got to, or convince them to stay home. Well, now, I don't know. After the debate, after what he's done in Palestine, now there's a problem. And I would not say to you that this is a sure bet that Trump is not going to get back in the White House. And that is my personal number one job, is to stop Trump, to make sure he doesn't come back to the White House. We are in,
you know what to do, Michael. You know what to do.
Deep trouble. If that happens.
Michael, I'll pick up on a point that I wanted to raise. It's the soundbite that I played earlier of President Joe Biden talking about the stakes of the election here in 2024, when George Stephanopoulos basically asked him, what do you say if Donald Trump wins and everything you are worried about and everything you have been warning about comes to fruition? And he said, well, I did my best. I did my goodest, actually. I gave it my all.
I did my goodest.
My all. I did. I swear to God, this sounds like I had a colonoscopy a couple months ago, and they put you out, and just as they're counting backward from 10, I just looked up at the doctor. I said, "Hey, I'm going to come back, right?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to give it my all." And I'm like, "What?" And then a month later, I go to my niece's wedding. I'm walking on the plane. I always say hi to the pilots. I stick my head in. Hey, how's it going in there? How's it going today? The pilot says, well, I'm going to give it my best. So, I'm giving my best shot to get us to Cleveland. No, you don't say something like that when you're the president of the United States. There's more at stake here than to just say, well, at least I'll feel like I gave it my all. I just, by the way, the colonoscopy doctor and the pilot, That was a little, I just think MSNBC every now and then there should be a moment of comedy. And but I'm serious.
More like MSNPC. Am I right, guys?
Seriously, I'm so upset.
It definitely it was a moment.
I'm really mad.
I know, and listen, it was a moment, and that's why we highlighted it, because it was also a moment that I thought was a little bit beneath the moment that we are in this crisis. You have Project 2025. Yes. You have fascism at the doorstep of America. It's not about giving your all. It's about making sure that this country survives every possible chance that you have.
Why did his audio go away?
Hey there.
Oh, God, that's such an awkward end to a segment. And then this guy pops up. Reporter asked Pelosi if Biden has her support. Hear her response.
Let me play first what we heard just now from the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi this morning about President Biden. Let's listen.
I want him to do whatever he decides to do. And that's the way it is. Whatever he decides, we go with. I think it's really important, and I would hope everyone would join in, to let him deal with this NATO conference. This is a very big deal. Over 30 heads of state are here.
She's like, stop distracting him. He's already having a hard enough time paying attention. He's got to run this NATO thing.
He is the host of it, and that means not just host.
Put it in news.
Yeah, I already saw this one. Let's see.
My lead source tonight is the senior senator from Colorado and the former presidential candidate, Democrat Michael Bennett. And Senator, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Heard from Senator
into a fallout ghoul.
Slowly? No. Yeah, you're right.
Schumer there.
She had a bunch of cosmetic surgery done too. Now she's from California, so I get it. Biden, I think he was just like he's got like a turkey neck,
This long, lengthy lunch that Senate Democrats had today. And after my colleague Dana Bash reported that you, Senator John Tester, and Senator Sherrod Brown all said during that lunch that you don't think President Biden can win in 2024. Is that true?
Well, it's true that I said that. And I did say that behind closed doors. And you guys and others asked whether I'd said it. And that is what I said. So I figured I should come here and say it publicly.
I said what I said.
Why do you think he can't win in November?
I just think this race is on a trajectory that is very worrisome if you care about the future of this country. Joe Biden was 9 points up at this time. The last time he was running, Hillary Clinton was 5 points up. This is the first time in more than 20 years that a Republican president has been up in this part of the campaign. Donald Trump is on track, I think, to win this election and maybe win it by a landslide and take with him the Senate and the House. And so for me, this isn't a question about polling. It's not a question about politics. It's a moral question about the future of our country. And I think it's critically important for us to come to grips with what we face if together we put this country on the path of electing Donald Trump again.
So you're worried that your party is not just going to lose the White House if Joe Biden is at the top of the ticket, but that you're also going to lose both chambers of Congress?
I think that we could lose the whole thing. And it's staggering to me. I mean, Donald Trump's already been president. I thought he was the worst president that we've ever had. He already took away, the right for women to be able to make their own decisions around health care. He's already put 3 extreme Supreme Court justices on the court.
A nussie, a neck Gina. It has the entire structure. He's got a labia majora and a clit.
He does. It's true. Yeah, you could fuck that neck.
That wouldn't even survive a vet in the old days, but now are on the court because Donald Trump did it. These are all the things he's already done. And today, as we're sitting here, he's 3.5 points ahead in the polls. He was ahead before President Biden had that very unfortunate debate. And the lead has been growing. And we have 4 months to figure out how we're going to save the country from Donald Trump. And when I think about the kids that I used to work for in the Denver public schools, when I was their superintendent, most of whom are kids of color, most of whom are kids living in poverty in a country with incredibly low economic mobility, and where the poverty rates are growing and where the economic unfairness I think is producing Donald Trump in many ways.
So you're saying the stakes are really high here?
The stakes could not be higher.
Will Trump squirt?
He might, but some people might just think that it's actually pee.
I believe that if we elect Donald Trump president again, my generation of Americans will be the first generation to leave less opportunity, not more, to the kids coming after us. That's not Joe Biden I'm blaming for that. That's not the senators I'm blaming for that. That is our generation of Americans.
It's the elites.
And we cannot let that happen. And we don't have to let it happen. We have to defeat the malignant figure that is Donald Trump, though, for us to be able to address the issues that we need to address.
But you don't think that Joe Biden can do that. So how can you not call on him to drop out of the race if you think he'll lose to Donald Trump?
We're all here this week to have this discussion, to have this debate. I'm sure President Biden has a different view of his prospects in this election than I do, but we should be having a discussion about that. And the White House, in the time since that disastrous debate, I think has done nothing to really demonstrate that they have a plan to win this election, that they have a convincing plan to win in the battleground states where we have to win in order to win this election.
So
and they need to do that. They have to demonstrate that to the American people. And by the way, this is not about ignoring the American people's concerns. It's not about brushing off the American people's concerns. They have to address the American people's concerns. The people that I represent from Colorado have deep concerns about whether or not the president can win this race.
So it's not just donors or the media. You're saying it's your voters that have concerns.
These are my voters who said to me, I have been through this with my mom. I've been through this with my dad. I'm terrified about what it will mean if Donald Trump is elected president again in this country.
Do you think it could put Colorado in play?
I don't think it will put Colorado in play. And I also think Joe Biden has been a really good president. You saw him addressing NATO. He was in his wheelhouse today. I'm glad he gave a good speech today. I'm really proud of what he did to fund Ukraine, which is something that I've been fighting for as well. But I have not seen anything remotely approaching the kind of plan we need to see out of the White House that can demonstrate that
you just run for president and you win, Jack.
He can actually beat Donald Trump, which is not going to be about
needed, Jack.
The accomplishments that we all had, 3 and 4 years ago. It's going to be about what the future.
And swap out Donald Trump for Tom Wilson, aka Biff Tannen, in Back to the Future. He already kind of played him in Back to the Future too.
He did, a little bit.
Of this direction of
I've seen him at Comic Cons and stuff before. Seems like a nice guy.
This country is going to be.
So could you see yourself calling for President Biden? No Senate Democrat.
It sucks because I had tickets to Seattle Comic Con 2020, and they were going to have the entire leading cast of Back to the Future there, and it got canceled because of COVID. So I thought it was going to be really cool because they had like all the main actors from the original Back to the Future. Sad. Or you know what though? Not Crispin Glover. He was the only one. I should take that back. Not all. Crispin Glover was the only one who wasn't there.
It has called for him to get out of the race. Could you get to that place where you call for that?
I have no pleasure being here at all tonight, just saying what I said in the caucus, and I was glad to be here to be able to have this conversation with you. This is something for the president really to consider. And I believe those of us that are in these elected office have a moral obligation to the people that we represent and the future of our country, to the kids that I used to work for in the Denver public schools. We have a moral obligation to them to do everything we can to make sure their future is as bright as it could be. And if we just sit on our hands, if we say we're going to disregard what is plainly in front of us and plainly in front of the American people, and we end up electing Donald Trump again as president of the United States, that's going to be a huge tragedy beyond epic proportion, and it's something I can't live with.
Can I ask you, in that lunch today, you don't even have to say names, did anyone come out and say that they did believe Biden should drop out of the race?
I did not hear a person say that today in that meeting.
But he has made clear he's not getting out. And so you're just saying, you're resigned to the fact that if he stays in, Democrats, I mean, if you lose the Senate, that's power for the end of the decade. The Democrats would not be in control of the Senate, potentially.
Right. That would be an American tragedy. If
Supreme
we lose
Court
the Senate,
justices being
if we lose the
picked.
House, if the Supreme Court, if Donald Trump, instead of having 3 appointments to the Supreme Court, has 5. And let me tell you something. People who think that this is just going to take care of itself because somehow when it's just a contrast between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, that somehow the American people are just going to come around in the end and save the country, from Donald Trump. I think we need to ask ourselves how we're in the position we're in today when he's already done all those horrible things with respect to a woman's right to choose, with respect to the Supreme Court as it is, with respect to the rule of law, with respect to his convictions, with respect to what the president was talking about today, his abandoning NATO,
Does the White House realize that? Does President Biden realize
Ukraine.
what you're saying is at stake here?
I think they do, but I think I can understand how hard it would be if I were Joe Biden to sit there and to say to myself,
he's just sitting there.
After all I've
do you know what it's like to be sitting there?
Worked for, after all I've accomplished, after all the extraordinary public service I've given to the American people, which we should honor because it has been extraordinary. One of the greatest leaders, to be in that office, certainly in recent times, and who has accomplished so much. It would be so hard to acknowledge that after all of that, you're in the race of your lifetime with somebody you can't beat. I think that's probably really hard for him to acknowledge. I think it's really hard for the people that are working for him to acknowledge. I think they have a moral obligation to look themselves in the mirror and to be able to say, we know we can win this race, or we're sure that we're going to be able to win this race, because there's just too much at stake otherwise. And everything that we're looking at today in terms of the election itself is a fire alarm about the situation this country faces, the situation that our kids face, and America.
Zayodidong, the rind. We're almost at 75% of the way to our goal. That's amazing. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
His role in the world, which is something President Biden cares so deeply about.
It sounds like you could get there to where you see yourself calling for him to get out of the race.
I believe the entire future of our country is at stake. People say, I hear them all, this is the most existential election. This is the most important election. This is the most important election. We are really behind. The president did not do a good job.
Trump probably wins no matter what, Seth. And a lot of that has to do with Biden right now. He was trending as a winner in some of the states that he needs to win, and now he's trending as a loser in some of those states, polling to where he has to pull off wins in all of the battleground states. Maybe he can afford to lose like Arizona, but he has to win all the rest of them. He has to win Michigan and Pennsylvania. So it's a loss anyway. I think right now we build support behind somebody else who can actually talk instead of just going with the status quo. He's making excuses. The elites are against me. He's so fucking cringy right now.
During the debate, and the week since has been a really tough week.
He blames the elites
for the White House. And
it's all about him winning and his ego.
And I think it's critically important that they address the concerns of the American people, not ignore them. And, those of us that have kids, I have 3 daughters of my own who know how critically important this election is. We should keep them in mind. We should keep the kids that I used to work for.
Polls do matter.
In Denver Public Schools in mind. I'm not happy to be here.
I'm not saying polls are perfect or that they're always right, but they do matter. You're the one speaking in absolutes, not me. It's ridiculously ignorant to say that polls don't matter.
Most people are not happy, with the situation that we have. It's no one's first choice. But I think it's really important that Democrats have an open, honest debate about what the future is going to hold for our party.
It's remarkable to hear you say that you don't think that President Biden can beat former President Trump and that the Democrats will lose everything. Senator Michael Bennett, thank you for being candid and for telling us what's actually happening behind closed doors in front of the cameras.
That's the shit Trump voters have been saying for years when it looks like Trump's going to lose. It's that the polls are
Biden
fake.
is talking about the Elite Four. He has to have a Pokemon battle to become champion of the Pokemon League in order to become president.
He is the elite. He is like the establishment, the Washington elite. He's been a senator for like 4 decades, or all he was, and then he became vice president and then president.
I appreciate your candor.
Thanks for having me.
Let's see. Here's a little more.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is non-committal on whether President Joe Biden should continue his run for president. It comes as another Democratic lawmaker has come forward calling on the president to drop out. But Biden has repeatedly said he is staying in the race. Perry Russum has the latest.
This morning, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi on MSNBC stopping short of giving President Biden a full endorsement to continue his campaign.
Does he have your support to be the head of the Democratic ticket?
As long as the president it's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do.
In a statement, the Biden campaign responding.
Polling definitely matters just because there's a margin of error. I mean, that just speaks to the accuracy of polling. Like they understand that there's a margin of error that they're working with. And yes, sometimes polling is incorrect, but it doesn't mean it doesn't matter.
To Pelosi saying he's running. Senator Michael Bennett on CNN last night, the newest Democratic lawmaker publicly calling on Biden to drop out.
Donald Trump is on track, I think, to win this election and maybe win it by a landslide and take with him the Senate and the House.
House Democrats meeting for hours yesterday behind closed doors.
The one thing they're right on is the thing they agree with me on. You sound like Trump right now, Seth. Yeah, they're wrong about everything, but the thing they agree with me on, that's the thing they're right about.
Future of the party. Sources calling the meeting rough.
Polls don't matter.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer asked several questions about his confidence on Biden's chances to win in November, responding to each question, saying this.
As I've said before, I'm with Joe.
The president under the microscope this week on the world stage for the NATO summit in Washington. Last night, Biden announcing a historic weapons deal with Ukraine.
The United States and our partners intend to provide Ukraine with dozens of additional tactical air defense systems.
His opponent, former President Trump, back on the campaign trail with a rally in Florida.
The truth is, it doesn't matter who they nominate because we are going to beat any one of them in thundering landslide.
That may be true. I don't know about a thundering landslide, but maybe. I guess that depends on what you mean. Can it be a landslide if you still lose the popular vote, but you win like a bunch of states? From what it looks like, it's going to be really close again, like fairly close. Not a landslide.
And
do we have like
Thursday,
an actual
2024
Thursday? Please.
Still waiting on Trump to announce his pick for vice president. His advisors say that could happen by Monday at the start of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Joe Biden, dementia. Let's check out this Alec Baldwin stuff.
We've just been watching attorneys giving their opening statements in the manslaughter trial against Alec Baldwin. Prosecutor Erlinda Johnson laid out the argument that Baldwin is to blame for the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins during rehearsal for the film Rust.
Trump will probably not win the popular vote. I don't think that's even on the table, but the Electoral college, it looks like he's probably going to win, but it doesn't look like it's going to be like a crazy win.
Saying Baldwin violated the cardinal rules of firearms safety. Among other issues, she says Baldwin did not do a safety check with the armorer who has already been convicted. Meanwhile, defense attorney Alec called Hutchins' death an unspeakable tragedy, but said Baldwin committed no crime. He says the most critical issue in this case is how a real bullet got on a movie set, how that bullet entered a prop gun, and why it was handed to the actor with the announcement, "Cold gun."
The woman that was in charge of all the firearms on this movie set is doing time in prison. I think she got like just over a year, like 14 months or something, which seems like, I thought it was going to be way worse than that. You know, I guess it was manslaughter. Like, it wasn't considered to be murder or anything. It was like manslaughter. So she's doing like, I thought it was like 14 months or something like that.
And that Alec Baldwin had nothing to do with any of that.
I wonder if Alec Baldwin will get any time.
ABC's Jacqueline Lee joins me now, along with ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more. Jacqueline, what's it like in the courtroom today?
So everyone is listening very closely to the opening arguments. When it comes to the jury, they were listening very closely. And as we had mentioned before, it's majority women, and they are older women. There's also two
older women on the jury,
younger men. So, you know, when Alec Spiro was speaking, you know, he was trying to illustrate the atmosphere that day that Alec.
Maybe they all had crushes on Alec Baldwin back in the 80s and 90s.
Baldwin was experiencing as the lead actor. Whenever you're acting on a set, you know, there's some improv, you're trying to bring this movie to life, right? So he pulled up this video where the jury was able to see a scene from that day, and he's trying to show that, you know, Alec Baldwin is focusing on how to make this the best movie possible, whereas he's relying on multiple people behind the scenes to say, hey, this is...
It is true. It wasn't his job to make sure the guns were safe. They hire someone to do that. So I don't know why he's being charged. I don't know how this made it to court, but here we are.
A cold gun. There's not supposed to be any live bullets in it. So he's trying to show to the jury that his client is innocent. Diane.
Brian, prosecutors say Baldwin ignored cardinal safety rules. Now the defense is saying there are no cardinal safety rules because everything on the set is supposed to be fake, especially the bullets. How much is going to come down to this idea of there are cardinal rules that all actors need to follow when they're handling a gun? And how do you go about proving how cemented those rules are?
I think we got to look to where those rules are listed, whether or not Alec Baldwin has access to it, whether or not he's learned about them or was informed about them. I'm assuming the answer is yes. And we have to look to wherever those rules are printed. And the reason why that's so important is because that's how you prove, more than anything, recklessness. That there are standards and guidelines that someone is supposed to operate.
So, Seth, you said, I'm not saying they are fake. You didn't say they were fake, but you were saying that they're wrong or that they don't actually matter. But when they are wrong, it's always within the margin of error. Right. So the states that are yellow on the map, those states are within the margin of error. And then there are states that are like light blue or light red, and those states are trending outside of the margin of error. And by the way, these are all the polls that they've taken recently, all aggregated into one poll, and they take into those margin of errors into account. Different polls have different margin of errors, and different populations and age groups are polled, and there's different ways of polling people. So they put all that together. So like if it's light red on the map, that means that it's outside of the margin of error in the polling and it's trending towards Trump. And if it's light blue, and then there are the dark blue ones like Washington or New York or California, where like it's way outside the margin of error. It's basically conclusive in the polling that, and obviously the polling matters there. Because they still poll states that are solid blue or solid red just to see if there's any shift. And those polls matter. They matter. And that's how we know that Michigan is starting to go red now, because the polling is leaving that margin of error and trending towards Trump.
with. And if they diverge from that in a careless or negligent way, that rises to the level of recklessness. Now, if these are guidelines that you're supposed to closely follow, and he did, and there's nothing specifically saying don't pull the trigger on the set for an actor, or actors don't have to check, or it doesn't say that actors do have to check, then that helps the defense. But if there are cardinal rules as the prosecution is arguing, that helps them. So we kind of just have to look to the rules.
There was an interesting part in the defense's opening argument that really stuck out to me, and it was when AFL-CIO brought out the video of a different moment in the rehearsal, and he's sort of explaining a play-by-play of what's happening and asking the jury to put themselves in the position of Alec Baldwin, saying he's not acting as Alec Baldwin now. He is Harlan Rust. He is an outlaw. He is handling the gun as an outlaw would. He is doing the job of an actor, and then showing Baldwin on set following these close directions of how to hold a gun, how to point it, how to whip it out, and so on.
How to whip it out. That is kind of a weird way to put it. She could have just said, like, how to draw your gun, but she's like, yeah, how to whip it out.
Why is that so important for him to try to really paint this full picture of what it's like to be an actor in that moment?
So in a sense, the defense is playing defense and offense, but also setting a trap for the prosecution, because they know the prosecution has already played their hand of saying, we're going to show you videos of Alec Baldwin operating recklessly with this gun. And so you must look at him being reckless here. So therefore, he must have been reckless at the time that Helena Hutchins died. The defense is saying, okay, you want to play those videos? Go for it. He's acting. He's not operating in the sense of being very careful, because he's supposed to be an outlaw. He's supposed to be someone that operates recklessly because we, the viewers, want that in our movies. If we didn't want that, we wouldn't have the Wild Wild West. It'd be called a very calm East or something different.
They filmed in, like, I don't know, 2009. They filmed a reality show on this. It's in New Mexico. It's just outside of Albuquerque. It's called the Bonanza Ranch. And they filmed all sorts of Westerns on here, including the show Bonanza, which was a really popular show back in the day. But they had a reality show on this same set in, like, 2009. It was called Kid Nation. And it was a bunch of little kids, and they just, like, let the little kids live there and try to survive without adults taking care of them. And they were anywhere from ages, like, 10 to, like, 17. Or maybe like 16 were the oldest ones. And I think a bunch of them gave themselves like bleach poisoning or something and had to go to the hospital, and they never did anything like that ever again. It was a crazy show.
I don't know.
Crazy idea. A lot of liability, I would think. There were adults there, though, like the filming crew had to have been adults.
And so the more the prosecution tries to play into this recklessness of the video, the defense gets to come up and say, you see, we told you, he's acting. He's supposed to be like this, but he does operate carefully. The issue is the bullet, not how he handles our gun or his acting.
Jacqueline, we also heard the defense emphasize the term cold gun. How much is that going to come to play in this trial?
I mean, ultimately, you have to think about what did Alec Baldwin know and when. What the defense was really trying to point out is that there were multiple layers of safety checks that clearly failed. Not only did Hannah Gutierrez, the armorer, not only was she in charge of checking the gun.
Like, literally, they had these kids kill a chicken and eat it. Well, they didn't tell them to do it, but all they had was the food provided on the ranch, which was all like all the food was raw ingredients, like raw flour and all the different ingredients to make stuff. So they had to figure out how to do that. And if they wanted meat, they had to like kill. I think they did kill like a couple chickens and eat them. It's pretty crazy.
But then also you had the first assistant director, David Halls, also check the bullets. So the defense was saying an actor can't necessarily tell the difference between a live bullet, a fake bullet, a blank, that kind of thing. And that is the role of these people behind the scenes. So if he is standing there on set, they're rehearsing, they're filming a scene, and the people responsible for saying, hey, this gun is safe, this is a cold gun, he's going to trust that. They also pointed out, the prosecution was saying, well, Alec Baldwin was reckless and he was negligent because he didn't do his own safety check. But the whole argument of the defense is saying, as an actor, he's not responsible for that. It's not outlined in SAG-AFTRA's rules that an actor is responsible for these safety checks. That is why they have multiple people in place prior to that scene so that the actor can rely on them.
And Brian, one of the last things we heard from AFL-CIO was, you won't see you won't see. He's outlining all the witnesses that the prosecution does not plan to call. What do you make of that strategy?
So as a defense attorney, you can prove that your client is not guilty, both based on the evidence that is presented that you find in cross-examination, but also in the lack of evidence. And so when you're talking about what rules an actor should follow, one would think that you would have another actor up there or an expert in being an actor saying, this is what we do, this is what we don't do. And I think that lack of evidence that we're expecting in this case helps the defense to say, you're not going to get this. You probably need it, but you're not going to get it. So how can you prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt?
Jacqueline, that said, one of the things the prosecution pointed out is that the crew had walked off the set that very day. And she says one of the reasons they walked off the set was citing concerns over gun safety. How damning is that for Baldwin?
It's very damning because the whole point is the prosecution's trying to argue is that he jumped over safety concerns and he was being negligent and reckless. Now, something that they pointed out, the prosecution, is they're going to be bringing the manufacturer of the gun to the courthouse to serve as testimony. And if you think about it, the whole crux of Alec Baldwin's argument, as he said in the 2021 interview with George Stephanopoulos, is he said, I never pulled the trigger. And so the prosecution's trying to argue that is physically impossible because the gun worked the entire time. So you must have pulled the trigger for that live bullet to have shot out and killed Helena Hutchins. We're also going to hear from crew members who are going to be saying there were some inexperienced people on set, one of whom was Hannah Gutierrez, the armorer. And so the prosecution is going to be bringing these witnesses forward to try to prove that Alec Baldwin, as the lead actor, knew that there were issues on set. People walked out, there were safety concerns, and yet this incident still happened.
Brian, last focus seems to be on the word foreseeable. That is part of what you would need to find in a conviction in this case. How hard is it going to be for the prosecution to prove that Alec Baldwin acted in a way where this tragedy was foreseeable to him?
Well, in a case where the prosecution, the jury, law enforcement, no one can tell us how a live round got onto the set, yet alone into that firearm, how does it become foreseeable? It becomes very difficult. And the one thing I want to touch on as well is interesting.
Beetlejuice. He would try to shoot everyone. Also, do you think Alec Baldwin would look good in a taco hat? I think he'd be way hotter in a taco hat.
Nope.
Defense, they almost gave up on the argument of Alec Baldwin did or didn't pull the trigger. They said even if he did, the foreseeability of that bullet in the gun is the ultimate issue. He could be pulling the trigger all he wants. He could have done it mistakenly. But if he can't foresee that a live round is in that gun on that set, even within a 1,000-yard radius of the place, how is it foreseeable that he's going to expect that someone gets shot by a live round?
All right, we'll see how the prosecution intends to prove that. Jacqueline Lee, Brian Buckmeyer, thank you both.
If conservatives want Alec Baldwin to get the death penalty, then, I mean, they're just outside of reality. For one thing, the death penalty doesn't exist in New Mexico. So even if he, did first-degree murder, the death penalty wouldn't even be on the table, and this is a manslaughter charge. So the worst sentencing would probably be a year in jail or in prison, rather. And I doubt he'll even get that. All right. I am going to do a quick bathroom, and then I'll be back and we'll do some more stuff. Be right back. my chode, but no, that's sick. If I want a dick, I can get a dick, and I like the metal sick with a little drip, drip, slap a knob on the top and all the stickiness. And I know the satisfaction of a man, don't get me wrong, box your mind, and baby doesn't turn me on. Like when a man tries to beat me, puts me in homo clothes, and then he tries to breed me. Cock your mouth, moving it out so they can sound, make you scream out. Then I'll be the hobo you and your friends talk about, standing in the street, getting bent over a vent, looking forward to the hobo experience. Got the loop tube, grease it up and back in action, stick it in and watch the hobo's ass contraction. Hobo, 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 anal, 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 probing, 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 hobo, anal, probing. Chilling at home, watching tube, sporting a boner for the feeling of the hobos on a Tuesday morning, feeling good, looking out the window, looking down the alley for a dirty old hobo. Yeah, I like the anal probe and also like the dirty dozens, as a ladies in a dress, baby's mamas and his cousin make me feel like a hobo. Tie me down for anal probe, I'll sit down to whip me, ask you what you think is funny, take a look and bust you in the nuts and hear my mom talking dirty hobo dick. It's also like the sausage strip, it's a large bike trip, the hobo probe in confidence, building up to that moment that you just start fucking. Hobo, 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 anal, 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 probing, 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 hobo, anal, probing. Fuck it, I'll bang you too, bitch. I'm a hobo too, motherfuck this, and feel that rim job, big cock in your mouth. I'm thinking a match with the anal probe. Grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it up. Stick it, stick it, stick it, stick it in. Slide it up and down, slide it up and down, slide it all around. Grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it up. Stick it, stick it, stick it, stick it in. Slide it up and down, slide it up and down, slide it all around. Grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it up. Stick it, stick it, stick it, stick it in. Slide it up and down, slide it up and down, slide it all around. Grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it up. Stick it, stick it, stick it, stick it in. Slide it up and down, slide it up and down, slide it all around. Grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it up. Stick it, stick it, stick it, stick it in. Hello, friends. This is the Sophisticated Urbanite here, and my investigation has uncovered some pretty interesting facts about Simple Country. Turns out, neither is he simple, nor is he country. I just want to point this out, so y'all know you've been lied to. You've been deceived. We all got sunglasses. We all got suit coats. We all have wood-paneled rooms. But, as the sophisticated urbanite, my wood-paneled room is superior. My suit jacket, superior. My sunglasses, my fedora, tips, my ladies, way better than Simple Country. So take it from me, Sophisticated Urbanite, your world champion. The following video that you're about to watch is based on real events that transpired outside of a soup kitchen somewhere in eastern Pennsylvania. Fuck yeah! Extra fucking mania's been badass, motherfucker! And I support strong women like Jess, bro. She's gonna come through as the world heavyweight champion. Yeah! What do you think, Rev? Oh yeah. Yeah, Shaddy. Yeah, you're right. Jespro all the way. Yeah, you're right. Ben sucks. There's no way he's going to win. Jespro's just like us. She's amazing. She could collab at our OnlyFans with us. That'll be pretty amazing, I think. Fuck yeah. We'll get Jespro to threesome with me and Rev, and it'll be on our OnlyFans. It's going to blow us up. Kanye West is going to love this. Hey, wait a minute. What the fuck is he doing here? Shani, Rev, you're both stupid. You're stupid. Do you know how stupid you are? You are both so stupid, you even stupider than me. I can't believe it. Shani and Rev, you are the stupidest. You are the stupidest of the stupid. Even stupider than the amazing atheist who was scared to debate me. Why the fuck are you here, G-Man? We start talking about OnlyFans and all of a sudden you show up. What is your fucking problem? I don't want to be your Oreo cookie, you piece of shit. Well, actually, Reverend Shani, even though you're both stupid, even stupider than me. I'm here to make a peace offering. And I've decided, Shani, you're about to get this chocolate. Yep, for the first time, I'm gonna give you the chocolate. What you've always wanted, Shani. Whoa, holy fucking shit! If you put it that way, I'm all in. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, Rev. We're gonna make this happen, finally, and you're not gonna get in the way anymore. Whoa, Shaddy, what's going on? I thought we were gonna have a threesome with Jespro on our OnlyFans. What's going on with this? G-Man's just coming around and saying you can have the chocolate, and now you're agreeing with him. I'm so confused. Shut the fuck up, Rev. You always knew it was gonna end up this way deep down in your heart. Just accept it and move on. I guess you forgot, Rev. G-Man always wins. Enjoy the view from the cuck tent, bitch. Come on, ladies, let's get out of here and make some awesome OnlyFans content. Oh, no. No, Shaddy. No, Jespro. No. Tell me how to eat it right. How to save your flavor. All night with my peaches and cream and my body it dreams. It's so good. All right. Whew. Oh, man. Shit. I had to make an emergency toilet run. Thank you to all you guys for sticking around. I had a toilet emergency. Let's just say that. We'll just put it that way. Let's check out this Derek Savage clip. Where is it? Oh, here it is.
Hey guys, what's happening? It's Derek, and I want to tell you about the new project here. I need to bring some people on board with it also. Got a couple of new projects working on. Second one, literally everybody will be able to get involved with that. But on this one right here is I have numerous children's books. And I've been
children's
seeing some
books.
fantastic programs out there that can bring life to the pictures. I mean, literally make the backgrounds move and everything. It's amazing what you can do on a computer nowadays. And what I'm going to do is, to my knowledge, it's the first time it's ever been done, and that will be a book to movie project. Now, usually when you hear that term, it's a novel to a feature film. Oh, here's my brand new novel. Look at this, Apocalypse, the Second Coming. Oh, Lordy B, it is just, this will rock your world. But we'll talk about this later. But now, what I'm thinking is this would actually be a real book to film. I don't think that's ever been done before. If I'm wrong, hey, you let me know. But okay, each book has 30 pages plus the cover. I'm thinking 4 books, each would be 120, and to lay the dialogue on it, that would bring them right at 60 minutes. With credits, we're over 60-minute mark, and that's where we need to be right there. Okay, the first one would be 4 Cool Cat books. Wow, look at this. Bingo. The second one is going to be another 4 Cool Cat books. Good Lord Almighty, look at that. And the third one, hey, it's going to be Charlie the Trout, baby. We're going to be having some fun on
Charlie
that one.
the Trout.
And the fourth one will be for the
He seems kind of off.
Baby books.
I won't
we need
lie.
to make something for the babies also. They deserve to be happy too. At least I think so. So hey guys, if you can make pictures move, well, 2 things will have to be done to these right here. First of all,
can you make pictures move? Can you make pictures move?
These are in a portrait format. We need to change it to 16:9 for film. And I have seen programs out there too on Twitter and everything to where they can do it easily. I mean, it's incredible what they can do. Bottom line, what I'm hoping is on these programs, you'll just be able to make the adjust or the settings and then drop the pictures in, and it does its magic. If that's how it is, that would be fantastic, and this can be done quickly right here. So hey, if you can do this, love to talk to you. The email is coolcat@yahoo.com.
Still rocking the Yahoo.
coolcatlovesyou.com. Because hey, Cool Cat loves you, baby doll. And be sure to tell your friends, if you got friends that's good with all these new programs, hey, you just put something out cool. And there's 4 different projects here, so there's room for a few people now. Okay? Hey, you take it easy. Bye.
There you have it. Cool Cat. The man, the myth, the legend. Yeah. It probably is better than Isom. More than likely. More than likely. So I think that's going to wrap it up for today's stream. Thanks to all you guys. We're almost at 75%. That's amazing. I thank all of you so much for helping me get there, because it's a great help. And I'll see all you guys tomorrow. We got a show tomorrow. So I'll see you all then. Have a good one.